And there was a certain man of Ramathaim Sophim, of the mountains of Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, son of Jeroham, son of Elihu, son of Tohu, son of Tsuf, an Ephraimite. And he had 2 wives. The name of one was Hannah, and the name of the other Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. Now this man went up from his city year by year to worship and to slaughter to Yahuah of hosts in Shiloh. And the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, the priests of Yahuah, were there. And when the day came for Elkanah to make a slaughtering, he gave portions to Peninnah his wife, and to all her sons and daughters. But although he loved Hannah, he gave only 1 portion to Hannah, because Yahuah had shut up her womb. Moreover, her rival also provoked her greatly, to make her irritable, because Yahuah had shut up her womb. And so he did, year by year. Whenever she went up to the house of Yahuah, she was provoked, so that she wept and did not eat. And her husband Elkanah said to her, "Hannah, why do you weep? Why do you not eat? And why is your heart sad? Am I not better to you than 10 sons?" And Hannah rose up after eating and drinking in Shiloh, while Eli the priest was sitting on the seat by the doorpost of the Horkal of Yahuah. And she was bitter in life, and prayed to Yahuah, and wept greatly. And she made a vow and said, "O Yahuah of hosts, if you would indeed look on the affliction of your female servant, and remember me, and not forget your female servant, but shall give your female servant a male child, then I shall give him to Yahuah all the days of his life, and let no razor come upon his head." And it came to be, as she kept on praying before Yahuah, that Eli was watching her mouth. And Hannah spoke in her heart. Only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. So Eli thought she was drunk. Then Eli said to her, "How long are you going to be drunk? Put your wine away from you." And Hannah answered and said, "No, my master, I am a woman pained in spirit, and I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but have poured out my being before Yahuah. Do not take your female servant for a daughter of Belial, for it is out of my great concern and provocation that I have spoken until now." And Eli answered and said, "Go in peace, and the Elohim of Yisrael give you your petition which you have asked of him." And she said, "Let your female servant find favor in your eyes." And the woman went her way and ate, and her face was no more sad. And they rose up early in the morning and worshipped before Yahuah, and returned and came to their house at Ramah. And Elkanah knew Hannah his wife, and Yahuah remembered her. And it came to be at the turn of days that Hannah conceived and bore a son, and called his name Shemuel, because I have asked Yahuah for him. And the man Elkanah and all his house went up to slaughter, to Yahuah the yearly slaughtering, and his vow. But Hannah did not go up, for she said to her husband, "When the child is weaned, then I shall take him, and he shall appear before Yahuah, and remain forever there. And her husband Elkanah said to her, "Do what is good in your eyes. Remain until you have weaned him. Only let Yahuah establish his word." And the woman remained and nursed her son until she had weaned him. And when she had weaned him, she took him up with her, with 3 bulls, and 1 ephah of flour, and a skin of wine, and brought him to the house of Yahuah in Shiloh. And the child was young. And they slew a bull, and brought the child to Eli. And she said, "O my master, as your being lives, my master, I am the woman who stood by you here, praying to Yahuah. I prayed for this youth, and Yahuah has granted me what I asked of him. So I have also loaned him to Yahuah. All the days that he lives, he shall be loaned to Yahuah." And he worshipped there before Yahuah. And Hannah prayed and said, "My heart rejoices in Yahuah. My horn has been high in Yahuah. My mouth is opened wide over my enemies, for I have rejoiced in your deliverance. There is no one set apart like Yahuah, for there is no one besides you, and there is no rock like our Elohim. Do not multiply words so proudly. Let no arrogance come from your mouth, for Yahuah is an El of knowledge, and by him deeds are weighed. Bows of the mighty are broken, and those who stumble shall be girded with strength. The satisfied have hired themselves out for bread, and the hungry have ceased. Even the barren has borne 7, and she who has many children pines away. Yahuah puts to death and makes alive. He brings down to Sheol and raises up. Yahuah makes poor and makes rich. He brings low and lifts up. He raises the poor from the dust. He lifts the needy from the dunghill, to sit with princes, and make them inherit a throne of esteem. For the supports of the earth belong to Yahuah, and he has set the world upon them. He guards the feet of his lovingly committed ones, but the wrong are silent in darkness. For man does not become mighty by power. Those who oppose Yahuah are shattered. From the heavens he thunders against them. Yahuah judges the ends of the earth and gives strength to his sovereign and exalts the horn of his anointed. And Elkanah went to his house at Ramah, but the youth served Yahuah before Eli the priest. And the sons of Eli were sons of Belial. They did not know Yahuah. And the ruling of the priests with the people was that when any man slaughtered a slaughtering, the priest's servant shall come with a 3-pronged flesh hook in his hand while the meat was cooking, and shall strike it into the basin, or kettle, or cauldron, or pot. And the priest would take for himself all that the flesh hook brought up. Thus they did in Shiloh to all Yisrael who came there. Also, before they burned the fat, the priest's servant would come and say to the man who slaughtered, "Give meat for roasting to the priest, for he does not accept cooked meat from you, but raw." And if the man said to him, "Let the fat be burned up first, then take as much as your being desires," he would then answer him, "No, but give it to me now. And if not, I shall take it by strength." And the sin of the young men was very great before Yahuah, for the men despised the offering of Yahuah. But Shemuel was attending before Yahuah, a youth wearing a linen shoulder garment, and his mother would make him a little robe and bring it to him year by year when she came up with her husband to slaughter the yearly slaughtering. And Eli blessed Elkanah and his wife and said, Yahuah give you offspring from this woman for the one she prayed for and gave to Yahuah. Then they would go to their own home. And Yahuah visited Hannah, so that she conceived and bore 3 sons and 2 daughters, while the young Shemuel grew before Yahuah. And Eli was very old, and had heard all that his sons were doing to all Yisrael, and how they lay with the women who were assembling at the door of the tent of appointment. And he said to them, Why do you do deeds like these? For I hear of your evil deeds from all the people. No, my sons, for it is not a good report that I hear, making the people of Yahuah transgress. If one man sins against another, Elohim shall judge him. But if a man sins against Yahuah, who shall pray for him? But they did not listen to the voice of their father, though Yahuah was pleased to put them to death. And the young Shemuel was growing in stature, and was in favor with Yahuah, and also with men. And a man of Elohim came to Eli and said to him, Thus said Yahuah, Did I not clearly reveal myself to the house of your father when they were in Mitzrayim in Pharaoh's house, even to choose him out of all the tribes of Yisrael to be my priest, to offer upon my slaughter place, to burn incense, and to wear a shoulder garment before me? And did I not give to the house of your father all the offerings of the children of Yisrael made by fire? Why do you kick at my slaughtering and my offering which I have commanded in my dwelling place, and esteem your sons above me, to make yourselves fat with the best of all the offerings of Yisrael my people? Therefore, Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael declares, I said indeed that your house and the house of your father would walk before me forever. But now Yahuah declares, Far be it from me, for those who highly esteem me, I highly esteem, and those who despise me are lightly esteemed. See, the days are coming that I shall cut off your arm and the arm of your father's house, so that an old man shall not be found in your house, and you shall see an enemy in my dwelling place. Despite all the good which Elohim does for Yisrael, and there shall not be an old man in your house forever. But any of your men whom I do not cut off from my slaughter place is to consume your eyes and grieve your life, and all the increase of your house die as men. And this is the sign to you that comes upon your 2 sons, upon Hophni and Phinehas. In one day they are going to die, both of them. And I shall raise up for myself a trustworthy priest who does according to what is in my heart and in my being. And I shall build him a steadfast house, and he shall walk before my anointed forever. And it shall be that everyone who is left in your house shall come and bow down to him for a piece of silver and a cake of bread, and say, Please, put me in one of the priestly positions to eat a piece of bread. And the young Shemuel was serving Yahuah before Eli. And the word of Yahuah was rare in those days, no vision breaking forth. And it came to be in that day that Eli was lying down in his place, and his eyes had begun to grow so dim that he was unable to see. And the lamp of Elohim had not gone out in the Hekal of Yahuah, where the ark of Elohim was. And Shemuel was lying down to sleep. And Yahuah called Shemuel, and he answered, "Here I am." He then ran to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you called me." But he said, "I did not call. Lie down again." So he went and lay down. And Yahuah again called, "Shemuel." And Shemuel arose and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you called me." But he answered, "My son, I did not call. Lie down again." Now Shemuel did not yet know Yahuah, and the word of Yahuah was not yet revealed to him. And Yahuah called Shemuel again the third time. And he arose and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you did call me." Then Eli understood that Yahuah had called the youth. So Eli said to Shemuel, "Go, lie down, and it shall be, if he calls you, say, 'Speak, Yahuah, for your servant hears.'" And Shemuel went and lay down in his place. And Yahuah came and stood and called, as at other times, "Shemuel, Shemuel." And Shemuel answered, "Speak, for your servant hears." And Yahuah said to Shemuel, "See, I am doing a matter in Yisrael, at which both ears of everyone who hears it shall tingle. In that day I shall confirm against Eli all that I have spoken concerning his house, from beginning to end. For I have declared to him that I am judging his house forever, for the crookedness which he knows, because his sons cursed Elohim, and he did not rebuke them. And therefore I have sworn to the house of Eli, that the crookedness of the house of Eli shall never be atoned for, by slaughtering or grain offering." And Shemuel lay down until morning, and opened the doors of the house of Yahuah. And Shemuel was afraid to report the vision to Eli. Then Eli called Shemuel and said, "Shemuel, my son." And he answered, "Here I am." And he said, "What is the word that he spoke to you? Please do not hide it from me. Elohim do so to you, and more also, if you hide a word from me of all the words that he spoke to you." And Shemuel reported to him all the words, and hid none from him. And he said, "It is Yahuah. Let him do what is good in his eyes." And Shemuel grew up, and Yahuah was with him, and did not let any of his words fall to the ground. And all Yisrael from Dan to Beersheba knew that Shemuel had been established as a prophet of Yahuah. And Yahuah continued to appear in Shiloh, because Yahuah revealed himself to Shemuel in Shiloh by the word of Yahuah. Thus the word of Shemuel was to all Yisrael. And Yisrael went out to battle against the Philistines, and encamped beside Eben-Hazer, while the Philistines encamped in Aphek. And the Philistines put themselves in battle array against Yisrael. And when the battle spread, Yisrael was stricken by the Philistines, who killed about 4,000 men of the army in the field. And when the people came into the camp, the elders of Yisrael said, "Why has Yahuah smitten us today before the Philistines? Let us bring the ark of the covenant of Yahuah from Shiloh to us, so that he comes into our midst and save us from the hand of our enemies." And the people sent to Shiloh, and they brought from there the ark of the covenant of Yahuah of hosts, dwelling between the cherubim. And the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were there with the ark of the covenant of Elohim. And when the ark of the covenant of Yahuah came into the camp, all Yisrael shouted so loudly that the earth shook. And when the Philistines heard the noise of the shout, they said, "What is the noise of this great shout in the camp of the Hebrews?" And when they knew that the ark of Yahuah had come into the camp, the Philistines were afraid, for they said, "Elohim has come into the camp." And they said, "Woe to us, for it has never been like this before. Woe to us! Who shall deliver us from the hand of these mighty Elohim? These are the Elohim who struck the Mitzrites with all the plagues in the wilderness. Be strong and be men, you Philistines, that you do not become servants of the Hebrews, as they have been to you. Be men and fight." And the Philistines fought, and Yisrael was smitten, and every man fled to his tent. And the slaughter was very great. And there fell of Yisrael 30,000 foot soldiers. And the ark of Elohim was captured, and the two sons of Eli died, Hophni and Phinehas. And a man of Benjamin ran from the battle line the same day, and came to Shiloh with his garments torn and dirt on his head. And he came in and saw Eli, sitting on a seat by the wayside watching, for his heart trembled for the ark of Elohim. And the man came into the city and reported it, and all the city cried out. And Eli heard the noise of the outcry and said, "What is the noise of this uproar?" And the man came hastily and informed Eli. Now Eli was 98 years old, and his eyes were so dim that he was unable to see. And the man said to Eli, "I am he who came from the battle, and I fled today from the battle line." And he said, "What was the matter, my son?" And the messenger answered and said, "Yisrael has fled before the Philistines, and there has been a great slaughter among the people, and your two sons have died, Hophni and Phinehas, and the ark of Elohim has been captured." And it came to be, when he made mention of the ark of Elohim, that Eli fell off the seat backward by the side of the gate, and his neck was broken, and he died. For the man was old and heavy, and he ruled Yisrael 40 years. And his daughter-in-law, Phinehas's wife, was pregnant, about to bear. And when she heard the news that the ark of Elohim was captured, and that her father-in-law and her husband were dead, she bowed herself and gave birth, because her pains came upon her. And about the time of her death, the women who stood by her said to her, "Do not fear, for you have borne a son." But she did not answer, nor did she set her heart to it. And she called the child Ichabod, saying, "The esteem has departed from Yisrael, because the ark of Elohim was taken, and because of her father-in-law and her husband." And she said, "The esteem has departed from Yisrael, for the ark of Elohim was taken." And the Philistines took the ark of Elohim and brought it from Eben Haezer to Ashdod. And the Philistines took the ark of Elohim and brought it into the house of Dagon and set it by Dagon. And the Ashdodites rose early in the morning and saw Dagon fallen on its face to the ground before the ark of Yahuah. So they took Dagon and put it in its place again. And they arose early the next morning and saw Dagon fallen on its face to the ground before the ark of Yahuah, and the head of Dagon and both the palms of its hands cut off. On the threshold, only Dagon itself was left of it. That is why, to this day, the priests of Dagon and all who come into Dagon's house do not tread on the threshold of Dagon in Ashdod. But the hand of Yahuah was heavy on the Ashdodites, and he wasted them and struck them with tumors, Ashdod and its borders. And when the men of Ashdod saw this, they said, "Let not the ark of the Elohim of Yisrael remain with us, for his hand has been hard on us, and on Dagon, our mighty one." Then they sent and gathered to them all the princes of the Philistines, and said, "What do we do with the ark of the Elohim of Yisrael?" And they answered, "Let the ark of the Elohim of Yisrael be removed to Gath." And they removed the ark of the Elohim of Yisrael. And it came to be, after they removed it, that the hand of Yahuah was against the city with a very great destruction, and he struck the men of the city, from the least to the greatest, and tumors broke out on them. They then sent the ark of Elohim to Ekron. And it came to be, as the ark of Elohim came to Ekron, that the Ekronites cried out, saying, "They have removed the ark of the Elohim of Yisrael to us, to kill us and our people." And they sent and gathered together all the princes of the Philistines, and said, "Send away the ark of the Elohim of Yisrael, and let it return to its own place, so that it does not kill us and our people." For there had come a deadly destruction throughout all the city. The hand of Elohim was very heavy there, and the men who did not die were stricken with tumors. And the cry of the city went up to the heavens. And the ark of Yahuah was in the field of the Philistines for 7 new moons. And the Philistines called for the priests and the diviners, saying, "What do we do with the ark of Yahuah? Let us know with what we should send it to its place." And they said, "If you send away the ark of the Elohim of Yisrael, do not send it empty, but you shall certainly return it to him with a guilt offering. Then you are going to be healed, and it shall be known to you why his hand does not turn aside from you." And they said, "What is the guilt offering which we return to him?" And they answered, "The number of the princes of the Philistines, 5 golden tumors and 5 golden rats. For the same plague was on all of you and on your princes." And you shall make images of your tumors, and images of your rats that ruin the land. And you shall give esteem to the Elohim of Yisrael. It could be that he does lift his hand from you, from your mighty ones, and from your land. And why do you harden your hearts as the Mitzrites and Pharaoh hardened their hearts? When he had severely dealt with them, did they not send them away, and they went? And now, take and make a new wagon, and 2 milk cows which have never been yoked, and hitch the cows to the wagon, and take their calves home, away from them. And take the ark of Yahuah, and put it on the wagon, and put the objects of gold which you are returning to him as a guilt offering in a chest by its side, and send it away, and it shall go. And you shall see, if it goes up the way to its own border, to Beth Shemesh, then he has done us this great evil. But if not, then we shall know that his hand has not come against us. An accident it was to us. And the men did so, and took 2 milk cows, and hitched them to the wagon, and shut up their calves at home. And they put the ark of Yahuah on the wagon, and the chest with the gold rats, and the images of their tumors. And the cows went straight for the way to Beth Shemesh, and went along the highway, bellowing as they went, and did not turn aside, right or left. And the princes of the Philistines went after them to the border of Beth Shemesh, and they of Beth Shemesh were reaping their wheat harvest in the valley. And they lifted their eyes and saw the ark, and rejoiced to see it. And the wagon came into the field of Yahushua of Beth Shemesh, and stood there. And there was a great stone. So they split the wood of the wagon, and offered the cows as an ascending offering to Yahuah. And the Levites took down the ark of Yahuah, and the chest that was with it, in which were the objects of gold, and put them on the great stone. And the men of Beth Shemesh offered ascending offerings, and slaughtered slaughterings the same day to Yahuah. And when the 5 princes of the Philistines saw it, they returned to Ekron the same day. And these are the gold tumors which the Philistines returned as a guilt offering to Yahuah: 1 for Ashdod, 1 for Azar, 1 for Ashkelon, 1 for Gath, 1 for Ekron. And the gold rats, by the number of all the cities of the Philistines belonging to the 5 princes, both walled cities and country villages, even as far as the great meadow on which they placed the ark of Yahuah, remain to this day in the field of Yahushua of Beth Shemesh. And he struck among the men of Beth Shemesh, for they had looked into the ark of Yahuah. He struck among the people 70 men, and the people mourned because Yahuah struck among the people. A great smiting. And the men of Beth Shemesh said, "Who is able to stand before this set apart Yahuah Elohim? And to whom shall he go from us?" And they sent messengers to the inhabitants of Kiriath Yearim, saying, "The Philistines have brought back the ark of Yahuah. Come down, take it up to you." And the men of Kiriath Yearim came and took the ark of Yahuah, and brought it into the house of Abinadab on the hill, and set apart Eleazar his son to guard the ark of Yahuah. And it came to be, from the day that the ark remained in Kiriath Yearim, that the time increased. It came to be 20 years. And all the house of Yisrael lamented after Yahuah. And Shemuel spoke to all the house of Yisrael, saying, If you return to Yahuah with all your hearts, then put away the foreign mighty ones and Ashtaroth from among you, and prepare your hearts for Yahuah, and serve him only, so that he delivers you from the hand of the Philistines. And the children of Yisrael put away the Baals and Ashtaroth, and served Yahuah only. And Shemuel said, Gather all Yisrael to Mitzpah, and let me pray to Yahuah for you. And they gathered to Mitzpah, and drew water, and poured it out before Yahuah. And they fasted that day, and said there, We have sinned against Yahuah. And Shemuel rightly ruled the children of Yisrael at Mitzpah. And when the Philistines heard that the children of Yisrael had gathered together at Mitzpah, the princes of the Philistines went up against Yisrael. And the children of Yisrael heard of it, and were afraid of the Philistines. And the children of Yisrael said to Shemuel, Do not cease to cry out to Yahuah our Elohim for us, that he would save us from the hand of the Philistines. And Shemuel took a suckling lamb and offered it as an ascending offering, completely to Yahuah. And Shemuel cried out to Yahuah for Yisrael, and Yahuah answered him. And it came to be, as Shemuel offered up the ascending offering, the Philistines drew near to battle against Yisrael. But Yahuah thundered with a great noise on that day on the Philistines, and troubled them, and they were smitten before Yisrael. And the men of Yisrael went out from Mitzpah, and pursued the Philistines, and struck them as far as below Beth-kar. And Shemuel took a stone and set it up between Mitzpah and Shen, and called its name Eben-ha-ezer, saying, Thus far Yahuah has helped us. Thus the Philistines were humbled, and no longer came into the border of Yisrael. And the hand of Yahuah was against the Philistines all the days of Shemuel. And the cities which the Philistines had taken from Yisrael were returned to Yisrael, from Ekron to Gath. And Yisrael recovered its border from the hands of the Philistines. And there was peace between Yisrael and the Amorites. And Shemuel rightly ruled Yisrael all the days of his life. And each year he made the rounds of Beth-el and Gilgal and Mitzpah, and rightly ruled Yisrael in all those places. Then he returned to Ramah, for his home was there. And there he rightly ruled Yisrael, and there he built a slaughter place to Yahuah. And it came to be, when Shemuel was old, that he made his sons rulers over Yisrael. And the name of his firstborn was Yoel, and the name of his second, Abiyah, rulers in Beersheba. But his sons did not walk in his ways, and turned aside after own gain, and took bribes, and twisted right ruling. And all the elders of Yisrael gathered together, and came to Shemuel at Ramah, and said to him, Look, you are old, and your sons do not walk in your ways. Now appoint for us a sovereign to rule us like all the nations. But the word was evil in the eyes of Shemuel when they said, "Give us a sovereign to rule us." So Shemuel prayed to Yahuah, and Yahuah said to Shemuel, "Listen to the voice of the people in all that they say to you, for they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me from reigning over them. According to all the works which they have done since the day that I brought them up out of Mitzrayim, even to this day, forsaking me and serving other mighty ones, so they are doing to you too. And now, listen to their voice, but you shall certainly warn them, and shall make known to them the ruling of the sovereign who does reign over them." And Shemuel spoke all the words of Yahuah to the people who asked him for a sovereign, and said, "This is the ruling of the sovereign who does reign over you. He shall take your sons and appoint them for his own chariots, and to be his horsemen, and they shall run before his chariots, and appoint commanders over his thousands and commanders over his 50s, or to plough his ground and reap his harvest, or to make his weapons and equipment for his chariots. And your daughters he is going to take to be perfumers and cooks and bakers. And the best of your fields and your vineyards and your olive trees he is going to take and give them to his servants. And 1/10 of your grain and your vintage he is going to take and give it to his officers and servants. And your male servants and your female servants and your best young men and your donkeys he is going to take and use for his own work. 1/10 of your sheep he is going to take, and you are to be his servants. And you shall cry out in that day because of your sovereign, whom you have chosen for yourselves. But Yahuah is not going to answer you in that day." However, the people refused to listen to the voice of Shemuel and said, "No, but let a sovereign be over us. Then we shall be, we also, like all the nations, and our sovereign shall rule us and go out before us and fight our battles." And Shemuel heard all the words of the people, and he repeated them in the hearing of Yahuah. And Yahuah said to Shemuel, "Listen to their voice, and make them a sovereign." And Shemuel said to the men of Yisrael, "Each of you go to his city." And there was a man of Binyamin, whose name was Kish, son of Abiel, son of Tseror, son of Becherath, son of Aphia, a Binyamite, a mighty man of power. And he had a son whose name was Shaul, young and handsome. And there was not a more handsome man than he among the children of Yisrael, taller than any of the people by the shoulders and upwards. And the donkeys of Kish, father of Shaul, were lost. And Kish said to his son Shaul, "Please take one of the servants with you, and arise. Go seek the donkeys." And he passed through the mountains of Ephraim, and through the land of Shalisha, but they did not find them. Then they passed through the land of Sha'alim, but they were not. Then he passed through the land of the Binyamites, but they did not find them. They came to the land of Suf, and Shaul said to his servant who was with him, "Come, let us turn back, lest my father stops thinking about the donkeys and become worried about us." And he said to him, "See, there is in this city a man of Elohim, and the man is esteemed. All that he says comes true, without fail. Now, let us go there. It could be that he shows us the way to go." And Shaul said to his servant, "But look, if we go, what do we bring the man? For the bread in our bags is all gone, and there is no present to bring to the man of Elohim. What do we have?" And the servant answered Shaul again and said, "Look, I have here at hand 1/4 of a shekel of silver, and I shall give that to the man of Elohim, and he shall make known to us our way. Formerly, in Yisrael, when a man went to inquire of Elohim, he spoke thus, 'Come, let us go to the seer,' for the prophet of today was formerly called a seer. And Shaul said to his servant, 'Your word is good. Come, let us go.' And they went to the city where the man of Elohim was. As they went up the hill to the city, they met some young women going out to draw water, and said to them, 'Is the seer here?' And they answered them and said, 'He is. Look, ahead of you. Hurry now, for he came to this city today, for the people have a slaughtering on the high place today. As you come into the city, you are going to find him before he goes up to the high place to eat. For the people do not eat until he comes, for he blesses the slaughtering. Afterward they who are invited eat. And now, go up, for you should find him about this time.' And they went up to the city. They were coming into the midst of the city, and saw Shemuel coming out toward them to go up to the high place. And Yahuah had revealed to Shemuel in his ear the day before Shaul came, saying, 'At this time tomorrow I shall send you a man from the land of Benjamin, and you shall anoint him leader over my people Yisrael, and he shall save my people from the hand of the Philistines. For I have seen my people, because their cry has come to me.' And when Shemuel saw Shaul, Yahuah said to him, 'See, the man of whom I spoke to you. Let this one govern my people.' And Shaul drew near to Shemuel in the gate and said, 'Please inform me, where is the house of the seer?' And Shemuel answered Shaul and said, 'I am the seer. Go up before me to the high place, for you shall eat with me today. And tomorrow I shall let you go and make known to you all that is in your heart. As for your donkeys that were lost 3 days ago, do not set your heart on them, for they have been found. And on whom is all the desire of Yisrael? Is it not on you and on all your father's house?' And Shaul answered and said, 'Am I not a Benjamite, of the smallest of the tribes of Yisrael, and my clan the least of all the clans of the tribe of Benjamin? Why then do you speak like this to me?' And Shemuel took Shaul and his servant and brought them into the hall, and gave to them a place at the head of those who were invited. And there were about 30 men. And Shemuel said to the cook, 'Bring the portion which I gave you, of which I told you to set it aside.' And the cook brought out the thigh with its upper part, and set it before Shaul. And Shemuel said, "See what was kept back. It was set aside for you. Eat, for it has been kept for you for this appointed time," saying, "I have invited the people." And Shaul ate with Shemuel on that day. And they came down from the high place into the city. And Shemuel spoke with Shaul on the roof. And they rose early. And it came to be about the dawning of the day that Shemuel called to Shaul on the roof, saying, "Rise, so that I send you on your way." And Shaul rose, and both of them went outside, he and Shemuel. As they were walking toward the edge of the city, Shemuel said to Shaul, "Say to the servant to go on ahead of us." And he went on. "But you stand here a moment, so that I let you hear the word of Elohim." And Shemuel took a flask of oil and poured it on his head, and kissed him, and said, "Is it not because Yahuah has anointed you leader over his inheritance? When you leave me today, you shall find 2 men by Rahel's burial place in the border of Binyamin at Seltzah, and they shall say to you, 'The donkeys which you went to look for have been found.' And see, your father had left the matters of the donkeys, and is worrying about you, saying, 'What shall I do for my son?' And you shall pass on from there and beyond, and shall come to the terebinth tree of Tabor. And 3 men going up to Elohim at Beth El shall find you there, one bearing 3 young goats, another bearing 3 loaves of bread, and another bearing a skin of wine. And they shall greet you and give you 2 loaves of bread, which you shall accept from their hand. After that, go to the hill of Elohim, where the Philistine watchpost is. And it shall be, when you have come there to the city, that you shall meet a group of prophets coming down from the high place with a stringed instrument, and a tambourine, and a flute, and a lyre before them. And they are prophesying. And the Spirit of Yahuah shall come upon you, and you shall prophesy with them, and be turned into another man. And it shall be, when these signs come to you, do for yourself as your hand finds to do, for Elohim is with you. And you shall go down before me to Gilgal, and see, I am coming down to you to offer ascending offerings and slaughter slaughterings of peace offerings. Wait 7 days till I come to you. Then I shall make known to you what you should do." And it came to be, when he had turned his back to go from Shemuel, that Elohim gave him another heart. And all those signs came on that day. And they came there to the hill, and saw a group of prophets to meet him. And the Spirit of Elohim came upon him, and he prophesied in their midst. And it came to be, all who knew him formerly looked and saw that he prophesied among the prophets. So the people said to each other, "What is this that has come upon the son of Kish? Is Shaul also among the prophets?" And a man there answered and said, "And who is their father?" That is why it became a proverb. Is Shaul also among the prophets? And when he stopped prophesying, he went to the high place. And the uncle of Shaul asked him and his servant, "Where did you go?" And he said, to look for the donkeys. And when we saw that they were nowhere to be found, we went to Shemuel. And the uncle of Shaul said, please inform me what Shemuel said to you. And Shaul said to his uncle, he informed us plainly that the donkeys had been found. But he did not disclose to him about the matter of the rain, what Shemuel had said. And Shemuel called the people together to Yahuah at Mitzpah, and said to the children of Yisrael, thus said Yahuah, the Elohim of Yisrael, I have brought Yisrael up out of Mitzrayim, and delivered you from the hand of the Mitzrites, and from the hand of all reigns, and from those who oppressed you. And today you have rejected your Elohim, who himself saved you out of all your evils and your distresses. And you have said to him, no, but set a sovereign over us. And now present yourselves before Yahuah by your tribes and by your clans. And Shemuel brought near all the tribes of Yisrael, and the tribe of Binyamin was taken. Then he brought near the tribe of Binyamin by their clans, and the clan of Matri was taken. And Shaul son of Kish was taken. And when they sought him, he could not be found. And they asked again of Yahuah, has the man come here yet? And Yahuah answered, see, he has hidden by the baggage. And they ran and brought him from there. And he stood in the midst of the people, and he was taller than any of the people from his shoulders and upwards. And Shemuel said to all the people, do you see him whom Yahuah has chosen, that there is no one like him among all the people? And all the people shouted and said, let the sovereign live. And Shemuel declared to the people the rulings of the reign, and wrote it in a book, and placed it before Yahuah. And Shemuel sent all the people away, each to his house. And Shaul went to his house too, to Geba. And with him went brave men whose hearts Elohim had touched. But the sons of Belial said, what? Does this one save us? And they despised him, and brought him no presents. But he kept silent. And Nahash the Ammonite came up and camped against Yabesh Gilad. And all the men of Yabesh said to Nahash, make a covenant with us, and we shall serve you. Then Nahash the Ammonite answered them, for this I make a covenant with you, that I dig out all your right eyes, and I shall bring reproach on all Yisrael. And the elders of Yabesh said to him, leave us alone for 7 days, so that we send messengers to all the borders of Yisrael. And then, if there is no one to save us, we shall come out to you. And the messengers came to Gibeah of Shaul, and spoke the words in the hearing of the people. And all the people lifted up their voices and wept. And look, Shaul was coming behind the herd from the field. And Shaul said, why are the people weeping? And they related to him the words of the men of Yabesh. And the spirit of Elohim came upon Shaul mightily as he heard these words, and his displeasure burned greatly. And he took a yoke of cattle and cut them in pieces, and sent them throughout all the border of Yisrael by the hands of messengers, saying, Whoever does not go out with Shaul and Shemuel to battle, let this be done to his cattle. And the fear of Yahuah fell on the people, and they came out as one man. And he mustered them in Bezek. And the children of Yisrael were 300,000, and the men of Yehudah 30,000. And they said to the messengers who came, Say this to the men of Yabesh Gilad. Tomorrow, by the time the sun is hot, you shall have help. Then the messengers came and informed the men of Yabesh, and they rejoiced. So the men of Yabesh said, Tomorrow we come out to you, and you shall do to us whatever seems good to you. And it came to be, on the next day, that Shaul put the people in 3 companies, and they came into the midst of the camp in the morning watch, and struck Ammon until the heat of the day. And it came to be that those left were scattered, so that no 2 of them were left together. And the people said to Shemuel, Who said, Shall Shaul reign over us? Bring the men, so that we put them to death. But Shaul said, No man is put to death this day, for today Yahuah has wrought deliverance in Yisrael. And Shemuel said to the people, Come, and let us go to Gilgal, and renew the reign there. And all the people went to Gilgal. And there they set up Shaul to reign before Yahuah in Gilgal. And there they slaughtered slaughterings of peace offerings before Yahuah. And there Shaul rejoiced. And all the men of Yisrael very greatly. And Shemuel said to all Yisrael, Look, I have listened to your voice in all that you said to me, and have set a sovereign over you. And now, look, the sovereign is walking before you, and I am old and grey, and look, my sons are with you. And I have walked before you from my youth to this day. Look, here I am. Witness against me before Yahuah and before his anointed. Whose ox have I taken, or whose donkey have I taken, or whom have I oppressed? Whom have I abused, or from whose hand have I received any bribe with which to blind my eyes? Then I restore it to you. And they said, You have not oppressed us or abused us, nor have you taken any bribe from anyone's hand. So he said to them, Yahuah is witness against you, and his anointed is witness today, that you have found naught in my hand. And they answered, He is witness. And Shemuel said to the people, It is Yahuah who appointed Moshe and Aharon, and who brought your fathers up from the land of Mitzrayim. And now stand still, so that I judge you before Yahuah concerning all the righteous acts of Yahuah, which he did to you and your fathers. When Jacob had come to Mitzrayim, and your fathers cried out to Yahuah, then Yahuah sent Moshe and Aharon, who brought your fathers out of Mitzrayim, and made them dwell in this place. But they forgot Yahuah their Elohim. So he sold them into the hand of Sisera, commander of the army of Hatzor, and into the hand of the Philistines, and into the hand of the sovereign of Moab. And they fought against them. And they cried out to Yahuah and said, We have sinned, because we have forsaken Yahuah and served the Baals and the Ashtaroth. And now, deliver us from the hand of our enemies, and we serve you." And Yahuah sent Yerubbaal, and Bedan, and Yiptah, and Shemuel, and delivered you out of the hand of your enemies round about, and you dwelt in safety. And when you saw that Nahash, sovereign of the children of Ammon, came against you, you said to me, "No, but let a sovereign reign over us," when Yahuah your Elohim was your sovereign. And now, here is the sovereign whom you have chosen and whom you have asked. And see, Yahuah has set a sovereign over you. If you fear Yahuah, and shall serve him, and obey his voice, and not rebel against the command of Yahuah, then both you and the sovereign who reigns over you shall follow Yahuah your Elohim. But if you do not obey the voice of Yahuah, and shall rebel against the mouth of Yahuah, then the hand of Yahuah shall be against you, as it was against your fathers. And now, stand and see this great matter, which Yahuah does before your eyes. Is today not the wheat harvest? Let me call to Yahuah, so that he sends thunder and rain. Know then and see that your evil is great, which you have done in the eyes of Yahuah, in asking for yourselves a sovereign. And Shemuel called to Yahuah. And Yahuah sent thunder and rain that day. And all the people greatly feared Yahuah and Shemuel. And all the people said to Shemuel, "Pray for your servants to Yahuah your Elohim, that we do not die. For we have added to all our sins this evil of asking for ourselves a sovereign." And Shemuel said to the people, "Do not fear. You have done all this evil. Only do not turn aside from following Yahuah, and you shall serve Yahuah with all your heart. And do not turn aside after worthless matters which do not profit or deliver, for they are worthless. For Yahuah would not cast away his people, for his great name's sake, seeing it has pleased Yahuah to make you his people. Also, as for me, far be it from me that I should sin against Yahuah in ceasing to pray for you, but I shall teach you the good and straight way. Only fear Yahuah, and you shall serve him in truth with all your heart, for consider what marvels he has done for you. But if you persist in doing evil, both you and your sovereign are consumed. Shaul was years old when he began to reign, and when he had reigned 2 years over Yisrael, Shaul chose for himself 3,000 men of Yisrael, and 2,000 were with Shaul in Michmash, and in the mountains of Beth El, and 1,000 were with Jonathan in Gibeah of Binyamin. And the rest of the people he sent away, each to his tent. And Jonathan struck the watchpost of the Philistines that was in Geba, and the Philistines heard of it. And Shaul blew with the shophar throughout all the land, saying, "Let the Hebrews hear." And all Yisrael heard the news that Shaul had stricken a watchpost of the Philistines, and also that Yisrael had become a stench to the Philistines. And the people were summoned to Shaul at Gilgal, and the Philistines gathered to fight Yisrael, 30,000 chariots and 6,000 horsemen, and people as numerous as the sand on the seashore. And they came up and encamped in Michmash, and in the mountains of Beth El, and 1,000 were with Jonathan in Gibeah of Binyamin, and the rest of the people he sent away, each to his tent. And Jonathan struck the watchpost of the Philistines that was in Geba, and the Philistines heard of it. And Shaul blew with the shophar throughout all the land, saying, "Let the Hebrews hear." And all Yisrael heard the news that Shaul had stricken a watchpost of the Philistines, and also that Yisrael had become a stench to the Philistines. And the people were summoned to Shaul at Gilgal, and the Philistines gathered to fight Yisrael, 30,000 chariots and 6,000 horsemen, and they came up and encamped in Michmash. east of Beth Arwen. And the men of Yisrael saw that they were in trouble, for the people were distressed, and the people hid in caves, and in thorny bushes, and in rocks, and in holes, and in pits. And some Hebrews passed over the Yarden to the land of Gad and Gilad. But Shaul was still in Gilgal, and all the people followed him, trembling, and he waited for 7 days, according to the appointment with Shemuel. But Shemuel did not come to Gilgal, and the people were scattered from him. And Shaul said, "Bring an ascending offering and peace offerings here to me." And he offered the ascending offering. And it came to be, as he had finished offering the ascending offering, look, Shemuel came. And Shaul went out to meet him, to bless him. Then Shemuel said, "What have you done?" And Shaul said, "Because I saw that the people were scattered from me, and that you did not come within the days appointed, and that the Philistines gathered at Michmash, so I said, the Philistines are going to come down on me at Gilgal, and I have not appeased the face of Yahuah. So I felt compelled, and offered an ascending offering. And Shemuel said to Shaul, "You have been foolish. You have not guarded the command of Yahuah your Elohim, which he commanded you. For now, Yahuah would have established your reign over Yisrael forever. But now, your reign is not going to stand. Yahuah shall seek for himself a man after his own heart, and Yahuah shall command him to be leader over his people, because you have not guarded what Yahuah commanded you." And Shemuel arose and went up from Gilgal to Gibeah of Binyamin. And Shaul mustered the people who were present with him, about 600 men. And Shaul and Jonathan his son, and the people who were present with them, remained in Gibeah of Binyamin, while the Philistines camped at Michmash. And from the camp of the Philistines raiders went out in 3 companies. The one company turned to the way that leads to Ophrah, to the land of Shual, and another company turned toward the way of Beth Horon, and another company turned toward the way of the border that overlooks the valley of Tseboim toward the wilderness. Now no blacksmith could be found in all the land of Yisrael, for the Philistines said, "Lest the Hebrews make swords or spears." And all Yisrael went down to the Philistines, each one to sharpen his plowshare, and his mattock, and his adze, and his sickle. And the charge was a pim for the plowshares, and the mattocks, and the forks, and the axes, and to set the points of the goads. And it came to be, on the day of battle, that there was neither sword nor spear found in the hand of any of the people who were with Shaul and Jonathan, but they were found with Shaul and Jonathan, his son. And the outpost of the Philistines went out to the pass of Michmash. And it came to be one day that Jonathan son of Shaul said to the young man who bore his armor, "Come, and let us go over to the outpost of the Philistines which is on the other side." But he did not inform his father. And Shaul remained at the outskirts of Gibeah under a pomegranate tree at Migron, and the people who were with him were about 600 men. And Ahiah son of Ahitub, Ichabod's brother, son of Pinehas, son of Eli, the priest of Yahuah in Shiloh, was wearing a shoulder garment, and the people did not know that Jonathan had gone. And between the passes, by which Jonathan sought to go over to the outpost of the Philistines, there was an edge of a rock on one side, and an edge of a rock on the other side. And the name of one was Botzitz, and the name of the other Senech. The one edge was on the north opposite Michmash, and the other on the south opposite Gibeah. And Jehonathan said to the young man who bore his armor, "Come, and let us go over to the outpost of these uncircumcised. If so be, Yahuah does work for us. For there is no hindrance for Yahuah to save by many or by few." And his armor-bearer said to him, "Do all that is in your heart. Incline yourself. See, I am with you, according to your heart." And Jehonathan said, "See, we are passing over to the men, and show ourselves to them. If they say this to us, 'Wait until we come to you,' then we shall stand still in our place and not go up to them. But if they say this, 'Come up to us,' then we shall go up. For Yahuah has given them into our hand, and this is the sign to us." And both of them disclosed themselves to the outpost of the Philistines. And the Philistines said, "See, the Hebrews are coming out of the holes where they have hidden." And the men of the outpost called to Jonathan and his armor-bearer and said, "Come up to us, and let us teach you a lesson." Then Jonathan said to his armor-bearer, "Come up after me, for Yahuah has given them into the hand of Yisrael." And Jonathan climbed up on his hands and knees with his armor-bearer after him. And they fell before Jonathan. And his armor-bearer was putting them to death behind him. And that first smiting which Jonathan and his armor-bearer struck was about 20 men in about half an acre of land. And there was trembling in the camp, in the field, and among all the people. The outpost and the raiders also trembled, and the ground shook. And it became a trembling of Elohim. And the watchmen of Shaul in Gibeah of Binyamin looked and saw the crowd melting away, and they went here and there. And Shaul said to the people who were with him, "Please inspect and see who has gone from us." So they inspected and saw that Jonathan and his armor-bearer were missing. And Shaul said to Ahiah, "Bring the ark of Elohim here." For the ark of Elohim was with the children of Yisrael on that day. And it came to be, while Shaul talked to the priest, that the noise which was in the camp of the Philistines went on, and became great. So Shaul said to the priest, "Withdraw your hand." And Shaul was called, and all the people who were with him. And they went to the battle. And see, every man's sword was against his neighbor. A very great confusion. And the Hebrews who were with the Philistines before that time, who went up with them into the camp, turned round, they too, to be with Yisrael, who were with Shaul and Jonathan. And all the men of Yisrael who had hidden in the mountains of Ephraim heard that the Philistines fled, and they also pursued them in the battle. Thus Yahuah saved Yisrael that day, and the battle passed over to Beth Awen. And the men of Yisrael were distressed that day, for Shaul had placed the people under oath, saying, "Cursed be the man who eats food until evening, and I have taken revenge on my enemies." Therefore, none of the people tasted food, and all they of the land came into the woods, and there was honey on the ground. And the people came into the woods and saw the honey, dripping, but no one put his hand to his mouth, for the people feared the oath. But Jonathan had not heard that his father had taken an oath of the people, and he stretched out the end of the rod that was in his hand, and dipped it in a honeycomb, and put his hand to his mouth. And his eyes lit up. Then one of the people said, "Your father strictly took an oath of the people, saying, 'Cursed be the man who eats food today.'" And the people were weary. And Jonathan said, "My father has troubled the land. Now see how my eyes lit up when I tasted a little of this honey. How much better if the people had well eaten today of the spoil of their enemies which they found, for then would not the slaughter among the Philistines have been greater?" And they struck the Philistines that day from Michmash to Ajalon. So the people were very weary, and the people pounced on the spoil, and took sheep and cattle and calves, and slew them on the ground. And the people ate with the blood. And they told Shaul, saying, "Look, the people are sinning against Yahuah by eating with the blood." And he said, "You have acted treacherously. Roll a large stone to me today." And Shaul said, "Scatter among the people, and say to them, each one bring his ox near to me, and each one his sheep, and you shall slay them here, and eat. And do not sin against Yahuah by eating with the blood." So every one of the people brought his ox with him that night, and slew it there. And Shaul built a slaughter place to Yahuah. It was the first slaughter place he built to Yahuah. And Shaul said, "Let us go down after the Philistines by night, and plunder them until the morning light, and not leave a man of them." And they said, "Do whatever seems good to you." But the priest said, "Let us draw near to Elohim here." And Shaul asked of Elohim, "Should I go down after the Philistines? Do you give them into the hand of Yisrael?" But he did not answer him that day. And Shaul said, "Come over here, all you chiefs of the people, and know and see what this sin was today. For as Yahuah lives, who saves Yisrael, though it be in Jonathan my son, he shall certainly die." But not one among all the people answered him. And he said to all Yisrael, "You be on one side, and my son Jonathan and I be on the other side." And the people said to Shaul, "Do what seems good to you." Then Shaul said to Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael, "Give a perfect lot." And Shaul and Jonathan were taken, but the people escaped. And Shaul said, "Cast lots between my son Jonathan and me." And Jonathan was taken. Shaul then said to Jonathan, Explain to me what you have done. And Jonathan explained to him and said, I only tasted a little honey with the end of the rod that was in my hand. See, let me die. And Shaul answered, Elohim do so, and more also. For you shall certainly die, Jonathan. But the people said to Shaul, Should Jonathan die, who has wrought this great salvation in Israel? Far be it. As Yahuah lives, let not one hair of his head fall to the ground, for he has wrought with Elohim this day. Thus the people ransomed Jonathan, and he did not die. And Shaul returned from pursuing the Philistines, and the Philistines went to their own place. And Shaul took the reign over Israel, and fought against all his enemies round about, against Moab, and against the children of Ammon, and against Edom, and against the sovereigns of Sobah, and against the Philistines. And wherever he turned, he inflicted punishment, and he gathered an army, and struck the Amalekites, and delivered Israel from the hands of those who plundered them. And the sons of Shaul were Jonathan, and Yishwi, and Malchishua. And the names of his 2 daughters were these: the name of the firstborn Merab, and the name of the younger Michal. And the name of Shaul's wife was Ahinoam, the daughter of Ahimaaz. And the name of the commander of his army was Abner, son of Ner, uncle of Shaul. And Kish was the father of Shaul, and Ner, the father of Abner, was the son of Abiel. And there was tough fighting against the Philistines all the days of Shaul. And when Shaul saw any mighty man or any brave man, he took him for himself. And Shemuel said to Shaul, Yahuah sent me to anoint you sovereign over his people, over Yisrael. And now, listen to the voice of the words of Yahuah. Thus said Yahuah of hosts, I shall punish Amalek for what he did to Yisrael, how he set himself against him on the way when he came up from Mitzrayim. Now go, and you shall strike Amalek, and put under the ban all that he has, and you shall not spare them, and put to death from man to woman, from infant to nursing child, from ox to sheep, from camel to donkey. Then Shaul summoned the people and mustered them in Telaim, 200,000 foot soldiers, and 10,000 men of Yehudah. And Shaul came to a city of Amalek, and lay in wait in the wadi. And Shaul said to the Canaanites, Go, turn aside, come down from among the Amalekites, lest I destroy you with them. For you did show loving commitment to all the children of Yisrael when they came up out of Mitzrayim. So the Canaanites turned aside from the midst of the Amalekites. And Shaul struck the Amalekites from Hawilah all the way to Shur, which is before Mitzrayim. And he caught Agag, sovereign of the Amalekites, alive, and put under the ban all the people with the edge of the sword. But Shaul and the people spared Agag and the best of the sheep, and the cattle, and the fatlings, and the lambs, and all that was good, and would not put them under the ban, but all goods despised and worthless, that they put under the ban. And the word of Yahuah came to Shemuel, saying, I am grieved that I have set up Shaul as sovereign, for he has turned back from following me and has not performed my words. And it displeased Shemuel, and he cried to Yahuah all night. And Shemuel rose early in the morning to meet Shaul. And it was told to Shemuel, saying, Shaul went to Carmel, and see, he set up a monument for himself, then turned and passed over, and went down to Gilgal. And Shemuel came to Shaul, and Shaul said to him, Blessed are you of Yahuah. I have performed the word of Yahuah. But Shemuel said, What then is this bleating of the sheep in my ears, and the lowing of the cattle which I hear? And Shaul said, They have brought them from Amalek, because the people spared the best of the sheep and the cattle, to slaughter to Yahuah your Elohim, and the rest we have put under the ban. And Shemuel said to Shaul, Wait, and let me declare to you what Yahuah said to me last night. And he said to him, Speak. And Shemuel said, Though you were little in your own eyes, were you not head of the tribes of Yisrael? And did not Yahuah anoint you sovereign over Yisrael? And Yahuah sent you on the way and said, Go, and you shall put under the ban the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they are consumed. And why did you not obey the voice of Yahuah, but swooped down on the spoil, and did evil in the eyes of Yahuah? And Shaul said to Shemuel, I did obey the voice of Yahuah, and I went on the way on which Yahuah sent me, and brought back Agag sovereign of Amalek. And I put Amalek under the ban. But the people took of the spoil, of the sheep and cattle, the best of that which should have been put under the ban, to slaughter to Yahuah your Elohim in Gilgal. Then Shemuel said, Does Yahuah delight in ascending offerings and slaughterings, as in obeying the voice of Yahuah? Look, to obey is better than a slaughtering. To heed is better than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of divination, and stubbornness is as wickedness and idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of Yahuah, he also does reject you as sovereign. And Shaul said to Shemuel, I have sinned, for I have transgressed the mouth of Yahuah and your words, because I feared the people and listened to their voice. And now, please pardon my sin and return with me, and let me bow myself to Yahuah. But Shemuel said to Shaul, I do not return with you, for you have rejected the word of Yahuah. And Yahuah does reject you from being sovereign over Yisrael. And as Shemuel turned around to go away, Shaul took hold of the edge of his robe, and it tore. And Shemuel said to him, Yahuah has torn the reign of Yisrael from you today, and has given it to a neighbor of yours, better than you. Moreover, the eminence of Yisrael does not lie nor relent, for he is not a man that he should relent. Then he said, I have sinned, but esteem me now, please, before the elders of my people and before Yisrael, and return with me, and I shall bow myself to Yahuah your Elohim. And Shemuel turned back after Shaul, and Shaul bowed himself to Yahuah. And Shemuel said, Bring Agag, sovereign of the Amalekites, here to me. So Agag came to him delightedly, and Agag said, Truly, the bitterness of death has turned aside. And Shemuel said, As your sword bereaved women, let your mother be bereaved among women too. Shemuel then hewed Agag to pieces before Yahuah in Gilgal. And Shemuel went to Ramah, while Shaul went up to his house at Gibeah of Shaul. And Shemuel did not see Shaul again until the day of his death, for Shemuel mourned for Shaul. And Yahuah was grieved that he had made Shaul to reign over Yisrael. And Yahuah said to Shemuel, How long are you going to mourn for Shaul? Seeing I have rejected him from reigning over Yisrael? Fill your horn with oil and go. I am sending you to Yishai, the Beth Lehemite, for I have seen among his sons a sovereign for myself. And Shemuel said, How would I go? When Shaul hears it, he shall kill me. And Yahuah said, Take a heifer with you, and say, I have come to slaughter to Yahuah. And you shall invite Yishai to the slaughtering. Then let me show you what to do. And you shall anoint for me the one I say to you. And Shemuel did what Yahuah said, and went to Bethlehem. And the elders of the town trembled at his coming, and said, Do you come in peace? And he said, In peace. I have come to slaughter to Yahuah. Set yourselves apart, and you shall come with me to the slaughtering. And he set Yishai and his sons apart, and invited them to the slaughtering. And it came to be, when they came, that he saw Eliab and thought, The anointed of Yahuah is indeed before him. But Yahuah said to Shemuel, Do not look at his appearance or at the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For not as man sees, for man looks at the eyes, but Yahuah looks at the heart. Then Yishai called Abinadab, and made him pass before Shemuel. And he said, Neither has Yahuah chosen this one. Next Yishai made Shammah pass by. And he said, Neither has Yahuah chosen this one. And Yishai made 7 of his sons pass before Shemuel. And Shemuel said to Yishai, Yahuah has not chosen these. And Shemuel said to Yishai, Are these all the young men? And he said, There remains yet the youngest. And see, he is tending the sheep. And Shemuel said to Yishai, Send and bring him, for we do not turn round till he comes here. And he sent and brought him in. And he was ruddy, with bright eyes, and handsome. And Yahuah said, Arise, anoint him, for this is the one. And Shemuel took the horn of oil, and anointed him in the midst of his brothers. And the Spirit of Yahuah came upon Dawid from that day and onwards. And Shemuel arose and went to Ramah. And the Spirit of Yahuah turned aside from Shaul. And an evil spirit from Yahuah troubled him. And the servants of Shaul said to him, Look, now, an evil spirit from Elohim is troubling you. Please, let our master command your servants who are before you to seek out a man who is a skilled player on the lyre. And it shall be that when the evil spirit from Elohim is upon you, that he shall play with his hand, and you be well. And Shaul said to his servants, Please get me a man that plays well, and bring him to me. And one of the servants answered and said, Look, I have seen a son of Yishai the Beth Lehemite, who knows how to play, a brave one, and a man of battle, and skilled in words, and a handsome man, and Yahuah is with him. So Shaul sent messengers to Yishai and said, Send me your son David, who is with the sheep. And Yishai took a donkey loaded with bread, and a skin of wine, and a young goat, and sent them by his son David to Shaul. And David came to Shaul and stood before him. And he loved him greatly, and he became his armor-bearer. Shaul therefore sent to Yishai, saying, Please let David stand before me, for he has found favor in my eyes. And it came to be, whenever the evil spirit from Elohim was upon Shaul, that David would take a lyre and play it with his hand. Then Shaul would become refreshed and well, and the evil spirit would leave him. And the Philistines had gathered their armies for battle, and came together at Soko, which belongs to Yehudah, and encamped between Soko and Azekah, in Ephes Damim. And Shaul and the men of Yisrael were gathered and encamped in the valley of Elah, and drew up in battle array to meet the Philistines. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on one side, and Yisrael stood on a mountain on the other side, with the valley between them. Then a champion came out from the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath, from Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. And a bronze helmet was on his head, and he was armed with a scaled armor. And the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of bronze, and bronze shin guards on his legs, and a bronze spear between his shoulders. And the wood of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his iron spearhead weighed 600 shekels. And a shield-bearer went before him. And he stood and shouted to the armies of Yisrael, and said to them, Why have you come out to line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine, and you the servants of Shaul? Choose a man for yourselves, and let him come down to me. If he is able to fight with me, and shall strike me, then we shall be your servants. But if I overcome him, and shall strike him, then you shall be our servants and serve us. Then the Philistine said, This day I shall reproach the armies of Yisrael. Give me a man, and let us fight together. And Shaul and all Yisrael heard these words of the Philistine, and they were broken down and in great fear. Now David was the son of that Ephrathite of Bethlehem in Yehudah, whose name was Yishai, and he had 8 sons. And in the days of Shaul, the man was old among men. And the 3 oldest sons of Yishai went. They had gone to follow Shaul to the battle. And the names of his 3 sons who went to the battle were Eliab the firstborn, and his second Abinadab, and the third Shammah, and Dawid was the youngest. And the three oldest followed Shaul. But Dawid went and returned from Shaul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. And for 40 days the Philistine drew near, morning and evening, and took his stand. Then Yishai said to his son Dawid, "Please take to your brothers an ephah of this dried grain and these 10 loaves, and run to your brothers at the camp, and take these 10 cheeses to the commander of the 1,000, and see how your brothers are, and bring back news of them." For Shaul and they, and all the men of Yisrael, were in the valley of Elah, fighting with the Philistines. And Dawid rose up early in the morning, and left the sheep with a herdsman, and took and went as Yishai had commanded him. And he came to the camp as the army was going out to the fight, and they shouted for the battle. And Yisrael and the Philistines drew up in battle array, army against army. And Dawid left his supplies in the hand of the keeper of the supplies, and ran to the army, and came and greeted his brothers. And he was speaking with them, and saw the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, coming up from the armies of the Philistines. And he spoke according to the same words, and Dawid heard. And all the men of Yisrael, when they saw the man, ran from him and were in great fear. And the men of Yisrael said, "Have you seen this man who has come up? For he has come up to reproach Yisrael. And it shall be that the man who strikes him, the sovereign is going to enrich him with great riches, and give him his daughter, and give his father's house exemption in Yisrael." And Dawid spoke to the men who stood by him, saying, "What shall be done for the man who strikes this Philistine, and shall take away reproach from Yisrael? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should reproach the armies of the living Elohim?" And the people answered him according to this word, saying, "This is what is done for the man who strikes him." And Eliab, his oldest brother, heard when he spoke to the men. And Eliab's displeasure burned against Dawid. And he said, "Why did you come down here? And with whom have you left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know your pride and the evil of your heart, for you have come down to see the battle." And Dawid said, "Now, what have I done? Was it not but a word?" And he turned around from him toward another, and said the same word. And these people answered him a word like the first word. And when the words which Dawid spoke were heard, they reported them to Shaul, and he sent for him. And Dawid said to Shaul, "Let no man's heart fail because of him. Your servant is going, and shall fight with this Philistine." And Shaul said to Dawid, "You are not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for you are but a youth, and he a man of battle from his youth." Then Dawid said to Shaul, "Your servant has been tending sheep for his father, and when a lion or a bear came and took a lamb out of the flock, I went out after it, and struck it, and rescued it from its mouth. And when it rose against me, I took hold of it by its beard, and struck it, and killed it. Your servant has stricken both lion and bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be like one of them, seeing he has reproached the armies of the living Elohim." And Dawid said, "Yahuah who delivered me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear. He does deliver me from the hand of this Philistine." And Shaul said to David, "Go, and Yahuah be with you." And Shaul dressed David with his garments, and he put a bronze helmet on his head, and put a coat of armor on him. And David girded his sword over his garments, and began to go, but he had not tried them. Then David said to Shaul, "I am not able to go with these, for I have not tried them." So David took them off, and he took his staff in his hand, and chose for himself 5 smooth stones from the wadi, and put them in a shepherd's bag, in a pouch which he had, and his sling was in his hand. And he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came, and began drawing near to David. And the man who bore the shield went before him. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he despised him, for he was a youth, and ruddy, and of handsome appearance. And the Philistine said to David, "Am I a dog, that you come to me with sticks?" And the Philistine cursed David by his mighty ones. And the Philistine said to David, "Come to me, and I give your flesh to the birds of the heavens and the beasts of the field." But David said to the Philistine, "You come to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a javelin. But I come to you in the name of Yahuah of hosts, the Elohim of the armies of Yisrael, whom you have reproached. This day Yahuah shall deliver you into my hand, and I shall strike you and take your head from you, and give the carcasses of the camp of the Philistines today to the birds of the heavens and the wild beasts of the earth, so that all the earth know that Elohim is for Yisrael. And all this assembly know that Yahuah does not save with sword and spear, for the battle belongs to Yahuah, and he shall give you into our hands." And it came to be, when the Philistine arose and came and drew near to meet David, that David hurried and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag and took out a stone, and slung it, and struck the Philistine on his forehead, so that the stone sank into his forehead, and he fell on his face to the ground. Thus David was stronger than the Philistine with a sling and a stone, and struck the Philistine and killed him. And there was no sword in the hand of David. Then David ran and stood over the Philistine, and took his sword and drew it out of its sheath, and killed him, and cut off his head with it. And when the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they fled. And the men of Yisrael and Yehudah arose and shouted, and pursued the Philistines as far as the entrance of the valley and to the gates of Ekron. And the wounded of the Philistines fell along the way to Sha'araim, even as far as Gath and Ekron. Then the children of Yisrael turned back from chasing the Philistines, and they plundered their camps. And David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem. But he put his weapons in his tent. And when Shaul saw David going out against the Philistine, he said to Abner, the commander of the army, "Abner, whose son is this youth?" And Abner said, "As your being lives, O sovereign, I do not know." And the sovereign said, ask whose son this young man is. And when Dawid returned from the striking of the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Shaul with the head of the Philistine in his hand. And Shaul said to him, "Whose son are you, young man?" And Dawid said, "The son of your servant Yishai the Beth Lehemite." And it came to be, when he had ended speaking to Shaul, that the being of Jehonathan was knit to the being of Dawid. And Jehonathan loved him as his own being. And Shaul took him that day, and would not let him return to his father's house any more. And Jehonathan and Dawid made a covenant, because he loved him as his own being. And Jehonathan took off the robe that was on him and gave it to Dawid, and his garments, even to his sword and his bow and his girdle. And Dawid went out wherever Shaul sent him. He acted wisely, and Shaul set him over the men of battle. And it was right in the eyes of all the people and also in the eyes of Shaul's servants. And it came to be, as they came in, as Dawid was returning from striking the Philistine, that the women came out from all the cities of Yisrael, singing and dancing, to meet Shaul the sovereign with tambourines, with joy, and with musical instruments. And the women sang as they danced, and said, "Shaul struck his thousands, and Dawid his 10,000s. And Shaul was very wroth, and this matter was evil in his eyes. And he said, To Dawid they have given 10,000s, and to me they have given thousands. So what more for him, except the rain? And from that day on, Shaul eyed Dawid. And it came to be on the next day that an evil spirit from Elohim came upon Shaul, and he prophesied inside the house, while Dawid was playing the lyre with his hand, as usual. And the spear was in the hand of Shaul. Then Shaul hurled the spear, for he said, "Let me strike Dawid, even to the wall." But twice Dawid withdrew from his presence, and Shaul was afraid of Dawid, because Yahuah was with him. But from Shaul he had turned away. Shaul therefore removed him from his presence, and made him his commander over 1,000. And he went out and came in before the people. And Dawid was acting wisely in all his ways, and Yahuah was with him. And Shaul saw that he was acting very wisely, and was afraid of him. But all Yisrael and Yehudah loved Dawid, as he went out and came in before them. And Shaul said to Dawid, "See my older daughter Merab. I give her to you as a wife. Only be brave for me, and fight the battles of Yahuah." For Shaul thought, "Let not my hand be against him, but let the hand of the Philistines be against him." And Dawid said to Shaul, "Who am I? And what is my life or my father's clan in Yisrael, that I should be son-in-law to the sovereign?" And it came to be at the time when Merab, Shaul's daughter, should have been given to Dawid, that she was given to Adriel the Meholathite as a wife. And Michal, Shaul's daughter, loved Dawid. And they told Shaul, and the matter was right in his eyes. And Shaul said, "Let me give her to him, and let her be a snare to him, and the hand of the Philistines be against him." So Shaul said to David a second time, "Become my son-in-law today." And Shaul commanded his servants, "Speak to David gently and say, 'See, the sovereign has delighted in you, and all his servants have loved you. And now be the sovereign's son-in-law.'" And the servants of Shaul spoke those words in the hearing of David. And David said, "Does it seem to you a small matter to be a sovereign's son-in-law, seeing I am a poor man and lightly esteemed?" And the servants of Shaul told him, saying, "David has spoken according to these words." And Shaul said, "Say to David, the sovereign has no delight in any payment for the bride but 100 foreskins of the Philistines, to take vengeance on the sovereign's enemies." But Shaul intended to have David fall by the hand of the Philistines. And his servants declared these words to David. And it pleased David well to become the sovereign's son-in-law. And the days had not expired. And David arose and went, he and his men, and struck 200 men of the Philistines. And David brought their foreskins, and they set them before the sovereign, to become the sovereign's son-in-law. And Shaul gave him Michal his daughter as a wife. And Shaul saw and knew that Yahuah was with David, and Michal daughter of Shaul did love him. So then Shaul was still more afraid of David. And Shaul came to be an enemy of David all the days. And the princes of the Philistines went out to fight. And it came to be, whenever they went out, that David acted more wisely than all the servants of Shaul, so that his name came to be very precious. And Shaul spoke to Jonathan his son, and to all his servants, to put David to death. But Jehonathan, Shaul's son, delighted much in David. And Jehonathan declared to David, saying, "My father Shaul seeks to put you to death. And now, please be on your guard until morning, and dwell in secrecy, and hide. And I myself shall go out and stand beside my father in the field where you are, and speak with my father about you, and shall see, and shall let you know." And Jehonathan spoke well of David to Shaul his father, and said to him, "Let not the sovereign sin against his servant, against David, because he has not sinned against you, and because his works have been very good toward you. For he took his life in his hands, and struck the Philistine, and Yahuah wrought a great deliverance for all Yisrael. You saw it, and rejoiced. Why then do you sin against innocent blood, to put David to death without cause?" And Shaul listened to the voice of Jehonathan, and Shaul swore, "As Yahuah lives, he does not die." Jehonathan then called David, and Jehonathan told him all these words. So Jehonathan brought David to Shaul, and he was in his presence as before. And there was fighting again, and David went out and fought with the Philistines, and struck them, a great smiting, and they fled before him. And an evil spirit from Yahuah came upon Shaul, as he sat in his house with his spear in his hand. And David was playing the lyre with his hand, and Shaul sought to strike the spear through David, and into the wall. But he slipped away from the presence of Shaul. So he struck the spear into the wall. And David fled and escaped that night. And Shaul sent messengers to David's house to watch him and to put him to death in the morning. And Michal, David's wife, informed him, saying, "If you do not save your life tonight, tomorrow you are put to death." So Michal let David down through a window, and he went and fled and escaped. And Michal took the household idol and laid it in the bed, and put a cover of goat's hair for his head, and covered it with a garment. And when Shaul sent messengers to take David, she said, "He is sick." And Shaul sent the messengers back to see David, saying, "Bring him up to me in the bed to put him to death." And the messengers came in and saw the household idol in the bed, with a cover of goat's hair for his head. Shaul then said to Michal, "Why have you deceived me like this, and sent my enemy away, so that he escaped?" And Michal answered Shaul, "He said to me, 'Let me go. Why should I put you to death?'" Now David fled and escaped, and went to Shemuel at Ramah, and told him all that Shaul had done to him. And he and Shemuel went and dwelt in Nawith. And it was reported to Shaul, saying, "See, David is in Nawith in Ramah." And Shaul sent messengers to take David. And they saw the assembly of the prophets prophesying, and Shemuel standing as leader over them. And the spirit of Elohim came upon the messengers of Shaul, and they also prophesied. And when Shaul was told, he sent other messengers, and they prophesied likewise. So Shaul sent messengers again, the third time, and they prophesied also. Then he himself went to Ramah, and came to the great well that is at Seku. And he asked and said, "Where are Shemuel and David?" And one said, "There, in Nawith in Ramah." So he went there to Nawith in Ramah, and the spirit of Elohim was upon him too. And he went on and prophesied until he came to Nawith in Ramah. And he also stripped off his garments and prophesied before Shemuel, and lay down naked all that day and all that night. Therefore they say, "Is Shaul also among the prophets?" And David fled from Nawith in Ramah, and went and said to Jehonathan, "What have I done? What is my crookedness? And what is my sin before your father, that he seeks my life?" And Jehonathan said to him, "Far be it. You are not going to die. See, my father does no big matter nor small matter without disclosing it to me. And why should my father hide this matter from me? It is not so." But David swore again and said, "Your father knows well that I have found favor in your eyes." And he says, "Do not let Jehonathan know this, lest he be grieved. But truly, as Yahuah lives, and as your being lives, there is but a step between me and death." And Jehonathan said to David, "Whatever your desire is, I do it for you." And David said to Jehonathan, "See, tomorrow is the new moon, and I ought to sit with the sovereign to eat. But let me go, and I shall hide in the field until the third day at evening. If your father misses me at all, then you shall say, David earnestly asked my permission to run over to Bethlehem, his city, for a yearly slaughtering is made there for all the clan. If he says thus, it is well, your servant is safe. But if he is very displeased, then know that he is resolved to do evil. And you shall show loving commitment to your servant, for you have brought your servant into a covenant of Yahuah with you. And if there is crookedness in me, put me to death yourself. For why should you bring me to your father? And Jehonathan said, Far be it from you. For if I knew with certainty that my father has resolved that evil is to come upon you, then would I not make it known to you? And David said to Jehonathan, Who would make it known to me? Or what if your father answers you sharply? And Jehonathan said to David, Come, and let us go out into the field. And they both went out into the field. And Jehonathan said to David, Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael be witness. When I search out my father sometime tomorrow, or the third day, and see if there is good toward David, and I do not send to you, or disclose it to you, so let Yahuah do so, and much more to Jehonathan. And if it pleases my father to do you evil, then I shall disclose it to you, and send you away, and you shall go in peace. And Yahuah be with you, as he has been with my father. But show me the loving commitment of Yahuah, not only while I still live, so that I do not die, and do not cut off your loving commitment from my house forever. No, not when Yahuah has cut off every one of the enemies of David from the face of the earth. And Jehonathan made a covenant with the house of David, saying, Yahuah shall require it at the hand of the enemies of David. And Jehonathan again made David swear, because he loved him, for he loved him as he loved his own being. So Jehonathan said to him, Tomorrow is the new moon, and you shall be missed, because your seat shall be empty. And on the third day, go down quickly, and you shall come to the place where you hid on the day of the deed, and shall remain by the stone Etzel. And let me shoot 3 arrows to the side of it, as though shooting at a target. And see, I shall send the youth, saying, Go, find the arrows. If I expressly say to the youth, Look, the arrows are on this side of you, get them and come, then, as Yahuah lives, there is safety for you and no concern. But if I say thus to the youth, Look, the arrows are beyond you, go your way, for Yahuah has sent you away. And as for the word which you and I have spoken of, see, Yahuah is between you and me forever. And David hid in the field. And when the new moon came, the sovereign sat down by the food to eat, and the sovereign sat on his seat, as at other times, on a seat by the wall, with Jehonathan standing, and Abner sitting by Shaul's side. But the place of David was empty. But Shaul spoke not a word that day, for he thought, It is an accident. He is not clean, for he has not been cleansed. And it came to be the next day, the second day of the new moon, that David's place was empty. And Shaul said to Jehonathan his son, "Why has the son of Yishai not come to eat, either yesterday or today?" And Jehonathan answered Shaul, "David earnestly asked my permission to go to Bethlehem. And he said, 'Please let me go, for our clan has a slaughtering in the city, and my brother has commanded me to be there. And now, if I have found favor in your eyes, please let me get away and see my brothers.' That is why he has not come to the sovereign's table." Then the displeasure of Shaul burned against Jehonathan, and he said to him, "You son of a perverse, rebellious woman, do I not know that you have chosen the son of Yishai to your own shame and to the shame of your mother's nakedness? For as long as the son of Yishai lives on the earth, you shall not be established, you and your reign. And now, send and bring him to me, for he is a son of death." And Jehonathan answered Shaul his father, and said to him, "Why should he be put to death? What has he done?" At that, Shaul hurled a spear at him to smite him. Then Jehonathan knew that his father had resolved to put David to death. And Jehonathan rose up from the table in the heat of displeasure, and ate no food the second day of the new moon, for he was grieved for David, because his father put him to shame. And it came to be, in the morning, that Jehonathan went out into the field at the time appointed with David, and a small youth was with him. And he said to the youth, "Now run! Find the arrows which I shoot." As the youth ran, he shot an arrow beyond him. And when the youth came to the place where the arrow was, which Jehonathan had shot, Jehonathan called out after the youth and said, "Is not the arrow beyond you?" And Jehonathan shouted after the youth, "Make haste! Hurry! Do not stand still!" And Jehonathan's youth picked up the arrows and came to his master. But the youth knew not a speck. Only Jehonathan and David knew of the matter. Then Jehonathan gave his weapons to the youth and said to him, "Go, take them to the city." And as soon as the youth had gone, David rose up from the south side and fell on his face to the ground and bowed down 3 times. And they kissed one another, and they wept together, but David more so. And Jehonathan said to David, "Go in peace, since we have both sworn in the name of Yahuah, saying, 'Yahuah is between you and me, and between your seed and my seed, forever.'" Then he arose and left, and Jehonathan went into the city, and David came to Nob, to Ahimelech the priest. And Ahimelech trembled when he met David, and asked him, "Why are you alone, and no one is with you?" And David said to Ahimelech the priest, "The sovereign has commanded me a word, and said to me, 'Let no one know whatever of the word about which I send you, and which I have commanded you.' And I have directed my young men to such and such a place. And now, what do you have on hand? Give 5 loaves into my hand, or whatever is found." And the priest answered David and said, "There is no ordinary bread on hand, but there is set-apart bread, provided the young men have kept themselves from women." And David answered the priest and said to him, "Truly, women have been kept from us about 3 days since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are set apart, and it is an ordinary mission, and also it was set apart in the vessel today." Then the priest gave him set-apart bread, for there was no bread there, except the showbread which had been taken from before Yahuah, in order to put hot bread in on the day it is taken away. Now one of the servants of Shaul was there that day, detained before Yahuah, and his name was Doeg, an Edomite, the chief of the herdsmen who belonged to Shaul. And David said to Ahimelech, "Is there not here on hand a spear or a sword? For I have brought neither my sword nor my weapons with me, because the matter of the sovereign was urgent." And the priest said, "The sword of Goliath the Philistine, whom you struck in the valley of Elah. See, it is wrapped in a garment behind the shoulder garment. If you would take it, take it, for there is none other except this one here." And David said, "There is none like it. Give it to me." And David rose and fled that day from before Shaul, and went to Achish, the sovereign of Gath. But the servants of Achish said to him, "Is this not David, the sovereign of the land? Did they not sing of him to each other in dances, saying, 'Shaul struck his thousands, and David his 10,000s? And David took these words to heart, and was very much afraid of Achish, the sovereign of Gath, and changed his behavior before them, and feigned madness in their hands, and scratched on the doors of the gate, and let his saliva run down on his beard. Then Achish said to his servants, "Look, you see the man is acting like a madman. Why do you bring him to me? Am I short of madmen, that you have brought this one to act as a madman near me? Should this one come into my house?" And David went from there, and escaped to the cave of Adullam. And his brothers and all his father's house heard it, and went down to him there. And everyone who was in distress, everyone who was in debt, and everyone bitter in being gathered to him. So he became head over them, and there were about 400 men with him. And David went from there to Mitzpeh of Moab, and said to the sovereign of Moab, "Please let my father and mother come here with you, till I know what Elohim does for me." And he left them with the sovereign of Moab, and they dwelt with him all the time that David was in the stronghold. And the prophet Gad said to David, "Do not remain in the stronghold. Leave, and go to the land of Yehudah." So David left, and went into the Hereth woods. And Shaul heard that David and the men who were with him had been discovered, while Shaul was in Gibeah, sitting under a tamarisk tree in Ramah, with his spear in his hand, and all his servants standing about him. And Shaul said to his servants who were standing around him, "Hear now, you Binyamites. Does the son of Yishai give every one of you fields and vineyards, and make you all commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds? For all of you have conspired against me, and there is no one who reveals to me that my son has made a covenant with the son of Yishai. And there is not one of you who is grieved for me, or reveals to me that my son has stirred up my servant against me, to lie in wait, as it is this day." And Doeg the Edomite who was set over the servants of Shaul, answered and said, I saw the son of Yishai going to Nob, to Ahimelech, son of Ahitub. And he inquired of Yahuah for him, gave him food, and gave him the sword of Goliath the Philistine. And the sovereign sent someone to call Ahimelech the priest, son of Ahitub, and all his father's house, the priests who were in Nob. And they all came to the sovereign. And Shaul said, Hear now, son of Ahitub. And he answered, Here I am, my master. And Shaul said to him, Why have you conspired against me, you and the son of Yishai, by giving him bread and a sword, and have inquired of Elohim for him, to rise against me, to lie in wait, as it is this day? And Ahimelech answered the sovereign and said, And who among all your servants is so trustworthy as Dawid, who is the sovereign's son-in-law, and has turned aside to your counsel, and is esteemed in your house? Have I today begun to inquire of Elohim for him? Far be it from me. Let not the sovereign lay a case against his servant, or against any in the house of my father. For your servant knew not of all this, little or much. And the sovereign said, You shall certainly die, Ahimelech, you and all your father's house. The sovereign then said to the guards who stood about him, Turn and put the priests of Yahuah to death, because their hand also is with Dawid, and because they knew when he fled, and did not reveal it to me. But the servants of the sovereign would not lift their hands to come against the priests of Yahuah. And the sovereign said to Doeg, You turn and come against the priests. So Doeg the Edomite turned and came against the priests, and put to death on that day 85 men who wore a linen shoulder garment, and he struck Nob, the city of the priests, with the edge of the sword, from men even to women, from children even to nursing infants, and oxen and donkeys and sheep, with the edge of the sword. And one of the sons of Ahimelech, son of Ahitub, named Ebiathar, escaped and fled after Dawid. And Ebiathar reported to Dawid that Shaul had killed the priests of Yahuah. And Dawid said to Ebiathar, I knew that day, when Doeg the Edomite was there, that he would certainly inform Shaul. I am accountable for all the lives of your father's house. Remain with me, do not fear. For he who seeks my life seeks your life, but with me you are safe. And they informed Dawid, saying, See, the Philistines are fighting against Keilah, and they are plundering the threshing floors. So Dawid inquired of Yahuah, saying, Shall I go and strike these Philistines? And Yahuah said to Dawid, Go and smite the Philistines, and save Keilah. And Dawid's men said to him, See, we here in Yehudah are afraid. How much more, then, if we go to Keilah against the armies of the Philistines? And Dawid inquired of Yahuah once again, and Yahuah answered him and said, Arise, go down to Keilah, for I am giving the Philistines into your hand. So Dawid and his men went to Keilah and fought with the Philistines, and he led away their livestock and struck them, a great smiting. Thus Dawid saved the inhabitants of Keilah. And it came to be, when Abiathar, son of Ahimelech, fled to Dawid at Keilah, that he went down with a shoulder garment in his hand, and Shaul was informed that Dawid had gone to Keilah. Then Shaul said, Elohim has estranged him into my hand, for he has shut himself in by entering a town that has gates and bars. And Shaul summoned all the people to battle, to go down to Keilah to besiege Dawid and his men. And Dawid knew that Shaul was plotting evil against him, and said to Abiathar the priest, Bring the shoulder garment here. And Dawid said, O Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael, your servant has heard for certain that Shaul seeks to come to Keilah to destroy the city for my sake. Are the landowners of Keilah going to surrender me into his hand? Is Shaul coming down, as your servant has heard? O Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael, I pray, let your servant know. And Yahuah said, He is coming down. And Dawid said, Are the landowners of Keilah going to surrender me and my men into the hand of Shaul? And Yahuah said, They are going to surrender you. Then Dawid and his men, about 600, arose and left Keilah and went wherever they could go. And Shaul was informed that Dawid had escaped from Keilah, and he ceased to go out. And Dawid remained in the wilderness, in strongholds, and remained in the hill country, in the wilderness of Ziph. And Shaul sought him every day, but Elohim did not give him into his hand. And Dawid saw that Shaul had come out to seek his life while Dawid was in the wilderness of Ziph at Horesh. And Jehonathan, Shaul's son, arose and went to Dawid at Horesh, and strengthened his hand in Elohim, and said to him, Do not fear, for the hand of Shaul my father is not going to find you, and you are to reign over Yisrael, and I am to be next to you. Even my father Shaul knows that. And they made a covenant before Yahuah, and Dawid remained at Horesh, while Jehonathan went to his own house. And the Ziphites came up to Shaul at Gibeah, saying, Is Dawid not hiding with us in strongholds Horesh, in the hill of Hakilah, which is on the south of the wasteland? And now, O Sovereign, by all the desire of your being, come down, and our part is to surrender him into the Sovereign's hand. And Shaul said, Blessed are you of Yahuah, for you have sympathy with me. Please go. Prepare yet further, and find out, and see the place where his hideout is. Who has seen him there? For I am told that he is very cunning. So look, and learn all about the hiding places where he hides. And you shall come back to me with certainty, then I shall go with you. And it shall be, if he is in the land, that I shall search for him throughout all the clans of Yehudah. And they rose up and went to Ziph before Shaul, while Dawid and his men were in the wilderness of Maon, in the desert plain on the south of the wasteland. And Shaul and his men went to seek him, and they informed Dawid. So he went down to the rock, and remained in the wilderness of Maon. And when Shaul heard this, he pursued Dawid in the wilderness of Maon. And Shaul went on one side of the mountain, and Dawid and his men on the other side of the mountain. And Dawid was hurrying to get away from Shaul, for Shaul and his men were surrounding Dawid and his men to take them. Then a messenger came to Shaul, saying, "Hurry and come, for the Philistines have invaded the land." So Shaul turned back from pursuing Dawid and went against the Philistines. Therefore, they called that place Selah Hamahlakoth. And Dawid went up from there and remained in strongholds at En-gedi. And it came to be, when Shaul had returned from pursuing the Philistines, that it was reported to him, saying, "See, Dawid is in the wilderness of En-gedi." So Shaul took 3,000 chosen men from all Yisrael, and went to seek Dawid and his men on the rocks of the wild goats. And he came to the sheepfolds on the way, and there was a cave. And Shaul went in to relieve himself. Now Dawid and his men were sitting in the sides of the cave. And the men of Dawid said to him, "See, the day of which Yahuah said to you, 'See, I am giving your enemy into your hand, and you shall do to him as it seems good to you.' And Dawid arose and gently cut off a corner of Shaul's robe. And it came to be afterward that the heart of Dawid struck him, because he had cut the robe of Shaul. So he said to his men, 'Far be it from me, by Yahuah, that I should do this matter to my master, anointed of Yahuah, to stretch out my hand against him, for he is the anointed of Yahuah.' And Dawid dispersed his servants with words, and did not allow them to rise against Shaul. And Shaul rose up from the cave, and went on his way. And afterward Dawid arose, and went out of the cave, and called out to Shaul, saying, 'My master the sovereign.' And when Shaul looked behind him, Dawid bowed with his face to the earth, and did obeisance. And Dawid said to Shaul, 'Why do you listen to the words of men who say, "See, Dawid seeks to do you evil"? See, this day your eyes have seen that Yahuah gave you today into my hand in the cave, and one said to kill you. But my eye pardoned you, and I said, I do not stretch out my hand against my master, for he is the anointed of Yahuah. And my father, see, yes, see the corner of your robe in my hand. For in that I cut off the corner of your robe, and did not kill you. Know and see that there is neither evil nor rebellion in my hand, and I have not sinned against you, while you are hunting my life to take it. Let Yahuah judge between you and me, and let Yahuah revenge me on you. But my hand is not against you. As the proverb of the ancient says, wrong comes from the wrongdoer, but my hand is not against you. After whom has the sovereign of Yisrael come out? Whom do you pursue? A dead dog? A flea? And Yahuah shall be judge, and rightly rule between you and me, and see and plead my case, and rightly rule me out of your hand. And it came to be, when Dawid had ended speaking these words to Shaul, that Shaul said, Is this your voice, my son Dawid? So Shaul lifted up his voice and wept. And he said to David, "You are more righteous than I, for you have rewarded me with good, whereas I have rewarded you with evil. And you have shown today how you have done good to me. For when Yahuah surrendered me into your hand, you did not kill me. For if a man finds his enemy, shall he let him get away safely? And let Yahuah reward you with good for what you have done to me today. And now look, I know that you shall certainly reign, and that the reign of Yisrael shall be established in your hand. And now, swear to me by Yahuah that you do not cut off my seed after me, nor destroy my name from my father's house." And David swore to Shaul. Then Shaul went home, and David and his men went up to the stronghold, and Shemuel died. And all Yisrael gathered and mourned for him, and buried him at his home in Ramah. And David arose and went down into the wilderness of Paran. Now there was a man in Maon, and his work was in Carmel, and the man was very great. And he had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats. And he came to be shearing his sheep in Carmel. And the name of the man was Nabal, and the name of his wife Abigail. And she was a woman of good understanding and beautiful. But the man was hard and evil in his doings, and he was of Caleb. And David heard in the wilderness that Nabal was shearing his sheep. And David sent 10 young men. And David said to the young men, "Go up to Carmel, and you shall come to Nabal, and greet him in my name, and say this: Long life and peace to you, and peace to your house, and peace to all that you have. And now I have heard that you have shearers. Now your shepherds have been with us. We did not put them to shame, and not a speck of theirs was missing all the days they were in Carmel. Ask your young men, and let them inform you. So let my young men find favor in your eyes, for we come on a good day. Please give whatever comes to your hand to your servants, and to your son David." And the young men of David came and spoke to Nabal according to all these words in the name of David, and waited. But Nabal answered the servants of David and said, "Who is David, and who is the son of Yishai? The servants who are running away from their masters have become many nowadays. And shall I take my bread and my water and my meat that I have slaughtered for my shearers, and give it to men coming from who knows where?" And the young men of David turned around on their way and went back, and came and reported to him all these words. And David said to his men, "Each one gird on his sword." So they each girded on his sword, and David also girded on his sword. And about 400 men went with David, and 200 remained with the baggage. And one of the young men informed Abigail, the wife of Nabal, saying, "See, David has sent messengers from the wilderness to greet our master, but he scoffed at them. But the men were very good to us, and did not put us to shame, nor did we miss any item all the days we accompanied them when we were in the fields." They were a wall to us both by night and day. All the days we were with them tending the sheep. And now, know and see what you should do, for evil has been resolved against our master and against all his household, and he is too much of a son of Belial to speak to. Then Abigail made haste and took 200 loaves and 2 skins of wine and 5 sheep made ready, 5 measures of roasted grain and 100 clusters of raisins and 200 cakes of figs, and loaded them on donkeys. And she said to her servants, "Pass over before me. See, I am coming after you." But she did not inform her husband Nabal. And it came to be, as she rode on the donkey, that she went down under cover of the hill. And there were David and his men coming down toward her. And she met them. And David had said, "Only in vain have I protected all that this one has in the wilderness, so that not a speck was missing of all that belongs to him. And he has repaid me evil for good. Let Elohim do so, and more also, to the enemies of David, if I leave one male of all who belong to him by morning light." And Abigail saw David, and she hastened to come down from the donkey, and fell on her face before David, and bowed down to the ground, and fell at his feet, and said, "On me, my master, let this crookedness be on me. And please, let your female servant speak in your ears, and hear the words of your female servant. Please, let not my master regard this man of Belial, Nabal. For as his name is, so is he. Nabal is his name, and folly is with him. But I, your female servant, did not see the young men of my master whom you sent. And now, my master, as Yahuah lives, and as your being lives, since Yahuah has withheld you from coming to bloodshed, and from avenging yourself with your own hand, now then, let your enemies be as Nabal, even those seeking evil against my master. And now this present which your female servant has brought to my master, let it be given to the young men who follow my master. Please forgive the transgression of your female servant, for Yahuah is certainly making a steadfast house for my master, because my master fights the battles of Yahuah, and evil is not found in you in all your days. And if a man rises to pursue you and seek your life, and the life of my master has been bound in the bundle of the living with Yahuah your Elohim, then the lives of your enemies he shall sling out, as from the pocket of a sling. And it shall be, when Yahuah has done for my master, according to all the good that he has spoken concerning you, and has commanded you to be ruler over Yisrael. Do not let this be a staggering and stumbling of heart to my master, that you have shed blood without cause, or that my master has saved himself. And when Yahuah has done good to my master, then remember your female servant." And David said to Abigail, "Blessed be Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael, who sent you to meet me today. And blessed is your good taste, and blessed are you, because you have kept me this day from coming to bloodshed, and from avenging myself with my own hand. Nevertheless, as Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael lives, who has kept me back from doing evil to you. If you had not hurried and come to meet me, not a male would have been left to Nabal by break of day, for certain." And David received from her hand what she had brought him, and said to her, "Go up in peace to your house. See, I have listened to your voice, and have accepted your face." And Abigail went to Nabal, and see, he was at a feast in his house, like the feast of a sovereign. And Nabal's heart was glad within him, and he was exceedingly drunk. So she told him not a word, little or much, until morning light. And it came to be, in the morning, when the wine had gone from Nabal, and his wife had told him these matters, that his heart died within him, and he became like a stone. And it came to be in about 10 days that Yahuah smote Nabal, and he died. And David heard that Nabal was dead, and he said, "Blessed be Yahuah, who has pleaded the cause of my reproach from the hand of Nabal, and has kept his servant from evil. For Yahuah has returned the evil of Nabal on his own head." And David sent and spoke to Abigail to take her as his wife. And when the servants of David had come to Abigail at Carmel, they spoke to her, saying, "David sent us to you, to ask you to become his wife." And she arose, bowed her face to the earth, and said, "Here is your female servant, a servant to wash the feet of the servants of my master." And Abigail hurried and rose, and rode on a donkey, with 5 of her female attendants, and she followed the messengers of David, and became his wife. David had also taken Ahinoam of Yisrael, and so both of them were his wives. But Shaul had given Michal his daughter, David's wife, to Palti son of Laish, who was from Galium. And the Ziphites came to Shaul at Gibeah, saying, "Is not David hiding himself in the hill of Hakilah, overlooking the wasteland?" And Shaul rose up and went down to the wilderness of Ziph, and with him 3,000 chosen men of Yisrael, to seek David in the wilderness of Ziph. And Shaul encamped in the hill of Hakilah, overlooking the wasteland, by the way, while David was dwelling in the wilderness. And he saw that Shaul came after him into the wilderness. And David sent out spies, and learned that Shaul had indeed come. And David rose up and came to the place where Shaul had encamped. And David saw the place where Shaul lay, and Abner, son of Ner, the commander of his army. And Shaul was lying within the enclosure, with the people encamped all around him. And David spoke up and said to Ahimelech the Hittite, and to Abishai, son of Tzeruiah, brother of Joab, saying, "Who does go down with me to Shaul in the camp?" And Abishai said, I go down with you." And David and Abishai came to the people by night, and saw Shaul lying asleep within the camp, with his spear stuck in the ground by his head, and Abner and the people lay all around him. And Abishai said to David, "Elohim has surrendered your enemy into your hand this day. And now, please, let me strike him at once with the spear, right into the earth, and not a second time." But David said to Abishai, Do not destroy him, for who shall stretch out his hand against the anointed of Yahuah and be guiltless? Dawid also said, As Yahuah lives, except Yahuah does smite him, or his day come that he shall die, or he shall go out to battle and perish. Far be it from me, by Yahuah, that I stretch out my hand against the anointed of Yahuah. And now, please take the spear and the jug of water that are by his head, and let us go. So Dawid took the spear and the jug of water by Shaul's head, and they went away. And no man saw it, or knew it, or awoke, for they were all asleep, because a deep sleep from Yahuah had fallen on them. And Dawid passed over to the other side, and stood on the top of a hill far away, a great distance being between them. And Dawid called out to the people and to Abner son of Ner, saying, Do you not answer, Abner? And Abner answered and said, Who are you, calling out to the sovereign? And Dawid said to Abner, Are you not a man? And who is like you in Yisrael? Why then have you not guarded your master the sovereign? For one of the people came in to destroy your master the sovereign. What you have done is not good. As Yahuah lives, you are worthy to die, because you have not guarded your master, the anointed of Yahuah. And now see where the sovereign's spear is, and the jug of water that was by his head. And Shaul recognized Dawid's voice, and said, Is that your voice, my son Dawid? And Dawid said, It is my voice, my master, O sovereign. And he said, Why is this that my master is pursuing his servant? For what have I done, or what evil is in my hand? And now, please, let my master the sovereign hear the words of his servant. If Yahuah has moved you against me, let him accept an offering. But if it is the children of men, then they are cursed before Yahuah. For they have driven me out today, that I should not join myself to the inheritance of Yahuah, saying, Go, serve other mighty ones. And now, do not let my blood fall to the earth before the face of Yahuah. For the sovereign of Yisrael has come out to seek a flea, as when one hunts a partridge in the mountains. And Shaul said, I have sinned. Come back, my son Dawid. For no more am I going to do evil to you, because my life was precious in your eyes today. See, I have acted foolishly and have greatly strayed. And Dawid answered and said, See, the sovereign's spear, and let one of the young men come over and get it. And let Yahuah reward every man for his righteousness and his trustworthiness. For this day Yahuah gave you into my hand, but I would not stretch out my hand against the anointed of Yahuah. And see, as your life has been valued in my eyes today, so let my life be valued in the eyes of Yahuah, and let him deliver me out of all distress. And Shaul said to Dawid, Blessed are you, my son Dawid, achieving much, and indeed prevailing. Then Dawid went on his way, and Shaul returned to his place. And Dawid said in his heart, Now I shall perish by the hand of Shaul some day. There is naught better for me than to escape to the land of the Philistines. Then Shaul shall give up searching for me any longer in any part of Yisrael, and I shall escape out of his hand. So Dawid rose up and passed over with the 600 men who were with him to Achish son of Maok, sovereign of Gath. And Dawid dwelt with Achish at Gath, he and his men, each man with his household, Dawid with his 2 wives, Ahinoam the Yisraelites, and Abigail the Carmelites, Nabal's widow. And it was reported to Shaul that Dawid had fled to Gath, so he sought him no more. And Dawid said to Achish, "If I have now found favor in your eyes, let them give me a place in some town in the country to dwell there. For why should your servant dwell in the royal city with you?" And Achish gave him Tsiklag that day. That is why Tsiklag has belonged to the sovereigns of Yehudah to this day. And the time that Dawid dwelt in the country of the Philistines came to be a year and 4 new moons. And Dawid and his men went up and raided the Geshurites and the Girzites and the Amalekites. For those nations were the inhabitants of the land from of old, as you go to Shur, even as far as the land of Mitzrayim. And when Dawid had stricken the land, he left neither man nor woman alive, but took away sheep and cattle and donkeys and camels and garments, and returned and came to Achish. And Achish would say, "Where have you made a raid today?" And Dawid would say, "Against the south of Yehudah, or against the south of the Yerachmeelites, or against the south of the Canaanites." Dawid did not keep alive man nor woman to bring news to Gath, saying, "Lest they inform against us, saying, 'Thus Dawid did.' And this was his practice all the days that he dwelt in the country of the Philistines. And Achish trusted Dawid, saying to himself, "He has indeed made himself a stench to his people in Yisrael, and has become my servant forever." And it came to be in those days that the Philistines gathered their armies for battle, to fight with Yisrael. And Achish said to Dawid, "You know, of course, that you are to go out with me in the army, you and your men." And Dawid said to Achish, "Very well, you shall know what your servant should do." And Achish said to Dawid, "Very well, I make you one of my chief guardians forever." And Shemuel had died, and all Yisrael had mourned for him, and buried him in Ramah, in his own city. And Shaul had put away the mediums and the spiritists from the land. And the Philistines were gathered, and came and encamped at Shunem. And Shaul gathered all Yisrael, and they encamped at Gilboa. And when Shaul saw the army of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart trembled greatly. And Shaul inquired of Yahuah, but Yahuah did not answer him, either by dreams, or by Urim, or by the prophet. Shaul then said to his servants, "Find me a woman who is a medium, to go to her and inquire of her." And his servant said to him, "Look, there is a woman who is a medium at Endor." And Shaul disguised himself and put on other garments, and went, he and 2 men with him. And they came to the woman by night. And he said, "Please divine for me, and bring up for me the one I shall name." But the woman said to him, "Look, you know what Shaul has done, how he has cut off the mediums and the spiritists from the land. Why then do you lay a snare for my life, to put me to death?" And Shaul swore to her by Yahuah, saying, "As Yahuah lives, no punishment comes upon you for this matter." And the woman said, "Whom do I bring up for you?" So he said, "Bring up Shemuel for me." And when the woman saw Shemuel, she cried out with a loud voice. And the woman spoke to Shaul, saying, "Why have you deceived me? You yourself are Shaul." And the sovereign said to her, "Do not be afraid. What did you see?" And the woman said to Shaul, "I saw a spirit coming up out of the earth." And he said to her, "What is his form?" And she said, "An old man is coming up, and he is covered with a mantle." And Shaul knew that it was Shemuel, and he bowed with his face to the ground and did obeisance. And Shemuel said to Shaul, "Why have you disturbed me by bringing me up?" And Shaul answered, "I am deeply distressed, for the Philistines are fighting against me, and Elohim has turned aside from me, and does not answer me any more, neither by prophets nor by dreams. So I have called you to reveal to me what I should do." Then Shemuel said, "And why do you ask me, seeing Yahuah has turned aside from you and has become your enemy? And Yahuah has done for himself as he spoke by me. For Yahuah has torn the rein out of your hand and given it to your neighbor, to David. Because you did not obey the voice of Yahuah, nor execute his burning wrath upon Amalek. Therefore, Yahuah has done this matter to you today. Further, Yahuah also gives Yisrael with you into the hand of the Philistines. And tomorrow you and your sons are with me. Yahuah also gives the army of Yisrael into the hand of the Philistines." And immediately Shaul fell on the ground, his complete length, and greatly feared because of the words of Shemuel. And there was no strength in him, for he had eaten no food all day or all night. And the woman came to Shaul and saw that he had been greatly disturbed, and said to him, "See, your female servant has obeyed your voice, and I have put my life in my hands, and have listened to the words which you spoke to me. And now, please listen to the voice of your female servant too, and let me set a piece of bread before you, and eat, so that you have strength when you go on your way." But he refused and said, "I am not going to eat." But his servants, together with the woman, urged him, and he listened to their voice. So he rose from the ground and sat on the bed. And the woman had a fatted calf in the house, and she quickly slaughtered it. And she took flour and kneaded it, and baked unleavened bread from it. And she brought it before Shaul and his servants. And they ate, and rose up, and went away that night. And the Philistines gathered all their armies at Aphek, while Yisrael encamped by a fountain which is in Yisrael, and the princes of the Philistines were passing on by hundreds and by thousands. And David and his men were passing on in the rear with Achish. And the princes of the Philistines said, "Who are these Hebrews?" And Achish said to the princes of the Philistines, "Is this not David, the servant of Shaul, sovereign of Yisrael, who has been with me these days, all these years? And to this day I have found no evil in him since he came over." But the princes of the Philistines were wroth with him, and the princes of the Philistines said to him, "Send the man back. Let him return to the place which you have appointed for him, and do not let him go down with us to battle, lest in the battle he become our adversary. For with what could he appease his master, if not with the heads of these men? Is this not David, of whom they sang to each other in dances, saying, 'Shaul struck his thousands, and David his 10,000s?'" And Achish called David and said to him, "As Yahuah lives, you have been straight, and your going out and your coming in with me in the army is good in my eyes. For to this day I have not found evil in you since the day of your coming to me. But in the eyes of the princes you are not good. And now return and go in peace, and do no evil in the eyes of the princes of the Philistines." And David said to Achish, "But what have I done? And to this day, what have you found in your servant, as long as I have been with you, that I should not go and fight against the enemies of my master the sovereign?" But Achish answered and said to David, "I know that you are as good in my eyes as a messenger of Elohim. But the princes of the Philistines have said, 'Let him not go up with us to the battle.' And now, rise early in the morning with your master's servants who have come with you. And as soon as you are up early in the morning and have light, then go." And David and his men rose up early to go in the morning, to return to the land of the Philistines. And the Philistines went up to Yisrael. And it came to be, when David and his men came to Ziklag on the third day, that the Amalekites had invaded the south, and Ziklag, and struck Ziklag, and burned it with fire. And they took captive the women and those who were there, from small to great. They did not kill anyone, but they led them away and went their way. And David and his men came to the city and saw it burned with fire. And their wives and their sons and their daughters had been taken captive. And David and the people who were with him lifted up their voices and wept until they had no more power to weep. And David's two wives, Ahinoam the Yisraelitess, and Abigail, the widow of Nabal the Carmelite, had been taken captive. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him, because the being of all the people was grieved, each for his sons and his daughters. But David strengthened himself in Yahuah his Elohim. And David said to Abiathar the priest, son of Ahimelech, "Please bring the shoulder garment here to me." So Abiathar brought the shoulder garment to David. And David inquired of Yahuah, saying, "Do I pursue this band? Do I overtake them?" And he answered him, "Pursue, for you shall certainly overtake them and certainly rescue. So David went, he and the 600 men who were with him, and came to the Wadi Bezor, where a halt was made by those who were left behind, while David pursued, he and 400 men, for 200 halted, who were too faint to pass over the Wadi Bezor. And they found a man in the field, a Mitzrian, and took him to David. And they gave him bread, and he ate. And they let him drink water, and gave him a piece of a cake of figs, and 2 clusters of raisins. And when he had eaten, his strength came back to him, for he had not eaten bread nor drunk water for 3 days and 3 nights. And David said to him, "To whom do you belong, and where are you from?" And he said, "I am a young man from Mitzrayim, servant of an Amalekite, and my master left me behind, for I had been sick 3 days. We attacked the south of the Kerethites, and against that which belongs to Yehudah, and upon the south of Caleb, and we burned Tsiklag with fire." And David said to him, "Could you bring me down to this marauding band?" And he said, "Swear to me by Elohim that you neither kill me nor surrender me into the hands of my master. Then I bring you down to this marauding band." And he brought him down, and saw they were spread out over all the land, eating and drinking and celebrating, because of all the great spoil which they had taken from the land of the Philistines and from the land of Yehudah. And David struck them from twilight until the evening of the next day, and none of them escaped, except 400 young men who rode on camels and fled. And David rescued all that the Amalekites had taken. David also rescued his 2 wives, and there was none missing to them, whether small or great, whether sons or daughters, or spoil, or whatever they had taken from them. David recovered all. Besides, David captured all the flocks and herds they had driven before those livestock, and they said, "This is David's spoil." And David came to the 200 men who were too faint to follow David, who had also been left at the Wadi Bezor. And they went out to meet David, and to meet the people who were with him. And when David came near the people, he greeted them. And all the evil and worthless men of those who went with David answered and said, "Because they did not go with us, we do not give them any of the spoil that we have rescued, except for every man's wife and children, and let them take them and go." But David said, "My brothers, do not do so with what Yahuah has given us, who has protected us and gave into our hand the band that came against us. And who would listen to you in this matter? For as his portion is who goes down to the battle, so is his portion who remains with the baggage. They share alike." And it came to be, from that day forward, he appointed it for a law and a right ruling for Yisrael to this day. And when David came to Tsiklag, he sent some of the spoil to the elders of Yehudah, to his friends, saying, "Here is a present for you from the spoil of the enemies of Yahuah. To those in Beth El, and to those in Ramoth of the south, and to those in Yatir, and to those in Aroer, and to those in Siphmoth, and to those in Eshtemoa, and to those in Rakal, and to those in the cities of the Yerachmeelites, and to those in the cities of the Canaanites, and to those in Hormah, and to those in Korashan, and to those in Athak, and to those in Hebron, and to all the places where David had gone up and down, he and his men, and the Philistines were fighting against Yisrael. And the men of Yisrael fled from before the Philistines, and fell slain on Mount Gilboa. And the Philistines followed hard after Shaul and his sons, and the Philistines struck Jehonathan, and Abinadab, and Malchishua, sons of Shaul, and the battle went hard against Shaul. And the archers hit him, so that he was severely wounded by the archers. And Shaul said to his armor-bearer, "Draw your sword, and thrust me through with it, lest these uncircumcised men come and thrust me through and roll themselves on me." But his armor-bearer would not, for he was greatly afraid. So Shaul took the sword and fell on it. And when his armor-bearer saw that Shaul was dead, he also fell on his sword and died with him. Thus Shaul died, and 3 of his sons, and his armor-bearer, also all his men, together on that day. And they saw, the men of Yisrael who were beyond the valley, and those who were beyond the Yarden, that the men of Yisrael had fled, and that Shaul and his sons were dead. So they forsook the cities and fled, and the Philistines came and dwelt in them. And the next day it came to be, when the Philistines came to strip the slain, that they found Shaul and his 3 sons fallen on Mount Gilboa. And they cut off his head and stripped off his armor, and sent word throughout the land of the Philistines to announce it in the house of their idols and to the people. And they placed his armor in the house of the Ashtaroth, and they fastened his body to the wall of Beth Shan. And the inhabitants of Yabesh Gilead heard what the Philistines had done to Shaul. And all the brave men arose and went all night, and took the body of Shaul and the bodies of his sons from the wall of Beth Shan. And they came to Yabesh and burned them there. And they took their bones and buried them under the tamarisk tree at Yabesh, and fasted for 7 days.